Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BitCot No Government License, which allows for the reuse and redistribution modification of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bloodsheets thereof. You can learn more about that at bitcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. This is episode 31. Do you even freedom, bro? Which, as we know, the government is not freedom.
No.
We are joined, special guest tonight. We got Mr. Justin Smiley.
Nice.
How you doing? One of my favorite people on the planet. One of the first couple hundred people to follow my page.
Hold on, I'm putting in my earplugs. Give me a second. Okay.
Hey, I was too, damn it.
Yes, Terica, you were one of the first couple hundred also, but Justin was first, so he's more special.
Right, that's true. And he was an admin way before I was, so.
So long ago.
Yeah.
6 years.
It's like 7 years ago.
6 years. That page has been up for 6 years, yeah.
Okay.
Justin and I were talking on Wolf when he was still in the Navy. When he was, starting to exit the Navy.
Nice.
Honestly, the Wolf page was one of the things that got me, really critically thinking about getting out of the Navy.
Yeah.
It was one of those things I was like, man.
If I had a caller, I'd pop in on that one.
Man, this shit makes way too much sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you know what? I don't know why. I've seen you guys be, try to be patient with most people, but you guys were extra patient with me. It took me for fucking ever. But you were so nice to me. You can get all
that makes the difference, I think.
Irritated, right?
I was talking to this lady that I think she's a Democrat, and I didn't ask her. I didn't really give a shit because it's whatever, labels are labels. I just deal with people as people. I try to anyway. You know what I mean? And she actually thanked me for being respectful and not being belligerent when she was asking questions. And I was that's the whole thing. We need to be asking each other questions. It's not
right.
My idea needs to win against your idea. If you have questions and you're trying to understand the situation of what's going on and you don't understand how the world works, I'm glad to answer any questions you got. You know what I mean? If I have the knowledge to provide the answer for you, or plant a seed and lead you in the right direction to look for yourself, then I'm going to try and do that.
There comes a point where I get impatient though. When I've said this, they've asked me the same question, phrasing it 10 different fucking ways, and they get upset with me for giving them the same goddamn answer each time. Then I start to get a little fucking impatient.
One of the things that I've been really bad at as part of one of Jason's admins on his page is that I used to be a real brutalist.
Yeah, I know.
Total asshole, right? I was a total asshole to so many people.
But you were nice to me, so.
Well, Daniel makes a good point because he says you just can't be that way if you expect to get any kind of gain any kind of ground with the other side.
Right.
My biggest problem is that some of them don't want it. Doesn't matter what you say to them. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing.
You just have to move on.
Yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
No.
You can lead a stainless to knowledge, but you can't make them think.
Right.
You
can beat them, but you can beat them until they do.
Or no. It does. No shit. Legit. There is a legit percentage of the population, a certain mindset of the population that does respond positively to brutalism. They do respond positively to being hammered over the head with the same thing again and again and again and again and again.
That's kind of marketing, the idea of marketing of repetition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a good point.
Which is
it's the Adam Kokesh way of doing things. It's the I would say Larkin Rose, but he's shied away from that a little bit in the recent years, ever since the whole blow up thing with the Liberty Hangouts guys and shit.
Drama.
Yeah. If anarchists could do anything, they would be everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if there was an anarchist libertarian magazine that posted nothing but rumors, it would be like the most popular page on
Right.
Facebook.
Oh, it'd be better than National Enquirer. Are you kidding me?
There was so much.
CBS would like CBS would like fucking turn it into a soap opera or something.
Oh my god.
Next on after TMZ.
Right.
Oh, you guys want to hear something amazing? I guess there's this chick, there's this black woman on Twitter that I follow, and her name's Candace Owen.
Yes.
Owens,
Red Pill
or
Black.
yeah. So
Yes.
I guess Kanye West came out. Like, I don't care for Kanye West normally,
Wait, I
but he
love
came out
Kanye
and said
now?
that. Yeah, right. This is what I'm
Right.
saying, right? So he said he's like telling people to like question everything and like all like coming out like is like a truther now. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? The dude have like a come to Jesus moment.
Dude, he's so weird. He loves Donald Trump. Like when Trump first got elected, Kanye was at Trump Tower, like hanging out with him, and like.
Yeah, he's like, and this is the funny thing because I'm gonna
so
get
weird.
to that point. So yeah, she's like saying like the Democrats have screwed over black people and like essentially kept them in like taxpayer subsidized form of slavery without chains is what I call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, with welfare and like destroyed their communities through like the Great Society Act.
It's like
things
dependency
like that.
slavery.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
Thomas Sowell talks about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Thomas Sowell.
Yeah, and he said that like the illegitimacy rate was like just about the same as white families prior to the Great Society Act passage by LBJ, and that like pretty much
Don't get me
incentivized
started on LBJ.
single motherhood. Well, he said he was like when he passed it, he was like, I'm going to have these n words voting for me for the next 100 years.
200 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was like explaining that to this woman that like was like, oh no, you're lying. It was a white chick, like white liberal chick, like, and because I commented on Candace Owens thing about like how it's not like black versus white or whatever, it's us versus the state because they want to restrict our freedom. And
it's blue versus you.
Yeah, and it was like they were calling her far right because of her beliefs, and I'm like, this is what happens when people of like color or whatever you want to call them, they like when they walk off the mental plantation and start thinking for themselves.
Oh,
they get attacked, dude.
Yeah,
and like I hate that because it's like the thought policing in the minority communities is hardcore, dude.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. It's
that's
like
why
if you don't vote.
Shit.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
They keep themselves in a type of social slavery.
Yeah, exactly.
To this culture that they find to be approved for people of their skin color, and it's ridiculous.
I want everybody to be free, and they call me a racist. Like people like Talib Kweli, who's calling me a fucking racist Nazi and shit on Twitter because we got into a big battle and he was retweeting my shit. So. Yeah, you was calling me a Nazi and shit, and I'm like, dude, I'm like for freedom for everybody. It's not about like because I was like saying that I didn't want to see white people in South Africa being killed. I was like, I don't want to see anybody being fucking genocided. Whatever.
Anybody who approves of reverse apartheid or reverse racism because of your great grandfathers fucking did this.
Exactly.
To us, so fuck them.
Okay,
that's what he said. That's pretty much what he was
now,
saying.
My great grandkids get to slaughter your great grandkids then because of this.
Yep. Like, the original people that did it
it's
because
like,
they know how bad it was.
They should know better.
Yeah. Like, let's find peace.
Right.
Oh yeah. Let's argue about slavery 150 years ago in the United States, and completely ignore the literal slavery that was going on right now in Libya.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Right. Let's completely.
But not only the tax slavery that we're under in the United States too. You know what I mean? It's just slavery without chains.
Right.
So it's a chain.
But there's literal slavery in Libya right now. Like open air fucking slave
Libya,
markets.
But all over North Africa.
All over North Africa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just Libya. Like.
Thank you, Clintons.
Yeah. Right.
So look, slavery is something that has always plagued humanity. And it still plagues it to this day.
Been around for
I don't know
years. It's not the creation of white people.
Yeah, it's not just that couple hundred years in the United States, which, by the way, ended with white people fighting and dying because they believed they needed to stop.
On the largest scale in American history. I mean, but hey, whatever.
Western civilization fucking, pretty much was the first to, break the back of bondage slavery. Yeah.
Yep. And who sold slaves to the slavers in Africa?
Yeah, other Africans. Yeah.
Rival tribes that hated each other because of whatever, regional conflict they were in at the time.
Right.
My bird god is greater than your blah 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 god.
It was either
Animists are wild, dude.
Either Thomas Sowell or Walter Williams, I forget which one it was, but one of the two said that basically, and this has been shown to be true based off empirical evidence, that the main reason that sub-Saharan Africans were enslaved by quote unquote white Europeans at the time was because of their availability. Nothing more. Had nothing to do with the fact that they were black and the Europeans were white. Had to do with the fact that they lost a war or a conflict, and were there. There was
already a slave market on the Ivory Coast. It's not like the Dutch. Right. It's not like the Dutch went running around the African subcontinent with butterfly nets, fucking rounding people up.
No, it wasn't. No, it was like, hey, we use people to do things that we don't want to do. Where can we need
cheap labor. Yeah,
but you're also talking about like the Dutch East India Company and shit like that. That was like the original corporations. Not to excuse the behavior, but it's
no, not at all.
Yeah,
the first colonialists, like all the way back to Christopher Columbus, the first colonialists, they used Native Americans as slaves. Like, where's my reparations?
Well, Native Americans had slaves too.
Thank you.
And you know what? And there were
Mayans and Aztecs and Incas enslaved each other.
And there were Irish slaves.
They sacrificed people on stones. They believed it would give them a plausible harvest.
No, I'm not stopping. There were Irish slaves too.
Whites have never been enslaved.
I was told that was a lie.
Total myth. It's a total myth. It never happened in real life.
It never happened, dude, because the White House was not built.
The Romans never enslaved the Celts. Nope. The Romans never enslaved the Gaul. The Romans never enslaved
the Vikings never had slaves. Nope, not at all. No.
Yeah, the English never enslaved the Scots. Yeah, it totally didn't happen.
Never happened in real life.
This whole thing about like communists and like cultural Marxists rewriting history and saying that kind of shit didn't happen because it's like.
No, that's literally the whole cultural Marxism and rewriting history. That's literally only happening here in the United States and in Europe and in Western Europe.
Of course.
That's it.
Well,
it's white guilt. Whole thing. It's the whole thing's based on white guilt.
The Frankfurt Institute or the Frankfurt school was the ones that developed the whole culture and Marxist theory and critical theory, where it was essentially meant to break down Western civilization.
Right.
And they replaced the bourgeoisie with the white, straight male, essentially.
Well, they didn't replace
that's
the
oppressor.
They just repackaged the bourgeoisie.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's still the oppressor versus the oppressed mentality.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have to...
Where does this whole concept come from? I have my theories of where it comes from. And Daniel already alluded to it. It's Marxism by any other name. It's still Marxism. Right. It's still the idea of taking from those that have and giving to those that do not by way of redistribution.
Well,
and taking a cut for yourself on the way there.
In addition to what Justin just said, that's one of the tenets of the Communist Manifesto. In addition to that, one of the tenets of the Communist Manifesto is to destroy individuality.
Yep.
And
that's the whole point.
Well, the dissolution of private property is leads into that whole thing of not being an individual because the individual is the basis for private property.
Right. And there's nothing altruistic about this. It's avarice, plain and simple. You cannot get your hands on their wealth unless you get their wealth moving, and then you can fucking get your cut in transit. People hold on to their wealth. You can't get your fucking hands on it. You have to get it moving. You have to make them feel guilty. You have to impose taxes. You have to get redistribution going. And then nobody knows where any of it's fucking going, and you can fucking hoard, skim off the top and hoard your cut.
So I've had a little bit of an evolution of my anarchist philosophy. Again, as Jason and Derica both know, I started out as a neocon Republican when I was 18, 19 years old after high school. I joined the military because I thought brown people in foreign countries were bad and they needed to be punished for not being, Americans, and they had oil, and I don't fucking drive my SUV doesn't run on corn, so we need to get that fucking oil. So. And then, I spent a little bit of time overseas, and then I started talking to like-minded people like Jason and some of the folks within the anarchist community. I even used to really think highly of Larkin Rose until he went off the fucking deep end.
That seems to happen.
Jean Jacket Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. He's a denim god. I just friended a guy on Facebook a couple hours ago. Called him a denim god, not a demigod, but a denim god. I was like, "You, my friend, get a friend request." So, love him or hate him. Yep. Love him or hate him.
Denim god in the Walmart wacko.
No, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because he has a lot of good things to say. But he
does.
Right.
But so love him or hate him. And I know that Jason doesn't necessarily agree with me on this, and I don't know what Derica's stance is, but Jared Howe. He got me to think of things in a little bit different light. I started reading a little bit of Hop. I don't necessarily subscribe to everything that Hop believes in. I don't necessarily subscribe to everything that Jared Howe believes in, or Justin Maldo. But
I feel like anything that I agree with Jared Howe on is a fucking coincidence because I hate that guy.
So, like I said,
it's just the presenter.
This might be a little bit contradictory to the status quo of this individualist collective of minds.
Right.
But I have come to the belief that all human rights are property rights.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And that's one of the main tenets of Hop's kind of brand of libertarianism or anarchism or Austrian economics, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and I don't even fully agree with any of like the vaunted anti-state philosophers. Like I pick out what I think they got right.
Yeah, I don't agree with. Yeah. I don't agree with everything Rothbard says. I don't agree with everything Hop says.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it should be.
They were just as human as we are.
I'm a huge Ben Stone fan. I mean, you guys know I help run the Ben Stone Facebook page and help him promote his book. I've done some podcasts with him and all that. But I don't agree with Ben Stone on everything. And I'm like, I consider myself like a Carl Hessian. Like I believe Carl Hess, individual.
Love Hess. Love him.
All the individuals act and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
anarchy without adjectives.
Mm-hmm. Without hyphens.
Without hyphens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, anarchy without hyphens.
Like I said, I told Jason I'm a little drunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that piece right there, anarchism without hyphens. Like I credit that one for flipping my mindset a lot from the anarcho-capitalist to the anarcho-individualist.
Well, see, this is where I stand on that whole thing because, like you said, private property rights, right? So you could essentially, if it was voluntary.
No. All rights are property rights, not
all
private
human
property
rights are property
all
rights.
Human rights are property rights.
Right.
Your body is your property.
Your body is your property.
So under that premise, if you voluntarily form a collective, right? And have a mutual aid, mutual defense pact.
Yes.
And you want to protect your, so to speak, borders of your private property in a collective. You know what I mean? I don't see a problem with that.
I don't either.
That would be like essentially that would be like a tribe more than a state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I have no issue with people forming.
Well, actually, no. Sorry. That would be more of a nation than a state because people always associate
nations and states are not necessarily the same thing.
Exactly, and I always make the distinction to people.
And I don't have a problem with tribalism. I mean, I don't have a problem with any way people want to congregate or associate, as long as it's voluntary for every single person who's there.
Yep.
As long as nobody's being forced.
I don't even necessarily have an issue with government. People want to form their own community and have a government just like we have now. Right. I have no issue with that as long as it's not being forced on others.
Right.
Exactly.
That is my whole thing. It's voluntary action.
As long as every person is subject to it. Right.
So my answer to the question The question is, how do we defeat statism? How? My
Education
answer,
is like the
my
only.
answer, it's not just that. Well, education is part of it. Yes. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
But the answer is secession.
Well,
secession.
California, Jason. California's going to secede. They're already going to break it up to 3 states. You read it. It's on the internet. It's gospel.
I hope so. That'd be fantastic. But secession is an absolutely fantastic idea, but it is a legal interstices.
It's a stepping stone, in my opinion.
Well, how do you get from here to Rome?
Yeah, that's always my question too. Well, especially if you get down to an individual level, that like a lot of people aren't even fucking capable of taking care of themselves, let alone self-governing.
That's why I think like education is the most important thing.
That's
because none
key.
of the rest of it happens without people understanding.
Not only education, but winning hearts and minds, and then educating, because it's like you can't exactly educate people that don't want to learn. You know what I mean?
That's why we do what we do. Earlier. We win hearts and minds right here on the Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable
Roundtable.
We have people laying in bed doing the podcast and shit.
See my pink walls? I got pink walls.
Nice.
Derek has got pink walls.
We're the most unprofessional podcast on the internet.
Super unprofessional.
Dirty. Was that dirty, Jason? That sounded dirty.
That was so very dirty.
Also, look at my gun.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking the same joke right before you said it.
Well,
what did you say?
I got you back for the comment on justice.
Right, for the jury nullification. Justin said,
"Look at my pink walls," and I said, "Derek has got pink walls too, but we're not going to go there."
Yeah.
Oh, damn, dude!
I totally missed.
Major appropriate malfunction wardrobe.
No. I got a theory on ending the state, guys, or why the state exists as it is now. I tend to break things down in the terms of that is easy to talk about. So like, the state exists because there is a market demand for the state.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Until there is a market demand for freedom, the state will exist. The state will continue to exist as it is.
To me, what's really ironic is that the state fucking manufactured that market demand.
Yes.
It has kept people so dependent for so long, they don't know how to function without it.
Kind of like socialism.
And in addition to the state creating that market demand, the state is its own worst enemy, because the state will never decrease itself. The government will never shrink. It will never.
No, of course not.
Become financially solventable or anything like that.
Well, they call them legislators for a reason. You know what I mean? It's like they don't go in there to fucking decrease the laws. It's just they're there to fucking make new ones.
Lawmakers. They're lawmakers, right? They're lawmakers. They're not freedom advocates. They're not statesmen.
No.
Do you ever see beasts starve themselves just because they don't like being beasts anymore?
Right. No.
No. That's not how. That's not.
Well, even if you're going to talk from a constitutionalist perspective, right?
Oh God.
I'm saying just for argument's sake, let me speak from a devil's advocate perspective, right?
All right, hit us, Dan. Do it.
So even from a constitutionalist perspective, okay, the fucking state is way out of bounds because they're operating under statutes and color of law. It's not actually under constitutionality.
Right. But for some reason, people who claim to believe in and revere the U.S. Constitution are like totally happy to see it completely fucking trampled.
Yeah.
The best possible document that could have ever been written to govern the United States of America was the Articles of Confederation, which they got rid of because the Federalists,
I agree.
Knowing that the federal government would not have the power that it has now under the Articles of Confederation.
They got rid of the Articles of Confederation because it was more restrictive. Because there was almost no way for the government to grow under the Articles of Confederation. So
the biggest
that was the whole purpose of it too. And even Patrick Henry said that they had no authority to make a fucking government in the name of the people when they didn't ask for one, when they just fought to get out from under the fucking British rule.
the biggest catalyst that actually like was the death toll of Articles of Confederation was the fact that there was no centralized currency. Every state had a different currency. Even sometimes different banks had different currencies.
Go fucking
And-
Why
Yeah,
is
the
that such a
central
bad
bank
thing?
can be installed.
Exactly.
Why is that such a bad thing?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, but
I know it's
if
not.
you want
Well, that's the whole
control
thing.
over the whole populace, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and if you want control over one form of currency in terms of like international banking, that's
Right.
not a fucking. That's like it's like diametrically opposed to their whole fucking scheme.
Right.
Three-
You need to
three
make
times
people totally
before-
dependent on you if they're going to interact with the market. If you
Three
want
Yeah.
times
control
before
over
the
them.
Federal Reserve Act, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act, and the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which is totally
illegally,
unapportioned tax,
illegally ratified.
Yeah.
never legally
Yeah.
ratified, but who gives a shit? Like, people don't read anymore. 3 times prior to that, they tried to institute central banks. The Central Banking Act of 60 something, Lincoln, the biggest, one of the biggest pieces of shit to ever fucking sit in office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he was a huge proponent of the Central Banking Act, and before that, the Federalists tried to institute a Central Banking Act or something similar to that because of what Derek
Yeah, and
said,
Andrew
is that
Jackson killed it.
Yeah, those were his
Thank
those were his
fucking God,
last
dude.
words on his deathbed were I killed the bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Andrew
How
Jackson.
much of an insult
Yeah.
is it to put him on a Federal Reserve
On the
note?
Federal Reserve
I
note, yeah.
know.
Well,
On a
that's
fiat-
like
on a
almost like
fiat-
their way
on a
of
fiat
like being
currency.
like, yeah.
One that I snort cocaine through.
Yeah.
That's not cool, man. They put
It's
one
like
of the
putting
biggest,
your
one of
fucking-
the
it's
biggest
like-
opponents of federalism on the
It's
same
like putting
note
your
that I used to
flag
snort
up on a
cocaine through.
conquered country or, raising
Well, that's
your
the whole
flag
thing.
over
It's
a
like
conquered,
with these
like,
people, like
capital.
everything is symbolic with them.
yeah. Yeah. It's like a
I
whole
love
other
cocaine, by the
language.
Well, I mean,
Can't-
that's the whole
can't
thing.
snort
They're like
coke
they're
through
into
Bitcoin,
that whole like,
just saying.
That's true. That's
yeah.
true. That's why I'm not invested. I like to have that paper in my hands.
Ah,
Fucking terrible.
Anywhomst. Daniel's on the right track.
Yeah, Dan's usually on the right track.
Dan's a smart dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why he's
Nice.
banned from Facebook.
He's humble too.
Yeah.
He's like,
Dude,
yeah.
I'm on my 4th Zuck of the year. It's not
Nice.
even the end of April yet.
Dan's blackballed.
Like total, like your IPS is like fucking awesome.
Perma-zucked.
Yeah.
Permazuck.
For life. For life.
Yep.
Damn.
Perma-
I
dude.
tried to
like
make a new account from a new phone, from a new IP address, everything, and fucking still couldn't get on there.
I tried making him a new account, and as soon as I was like getting ready to transfer it to
What
him,
did you do?
suck.
I don't know. I guess I must have got too close to the
Anti-Zionist
truth or
memes.
something.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
anti-Zionist, man.
that'll
Like,
do it. That'll do it.
he loves them
Yeah.
Jew memes.
What's the
Yeah.
what's the
What's
the way to
but I
flavor
don't
meme
dislike Jewish people though. It's like the whole thing. Like I posted on Twitter the other day, and I'm like, don't get like they always conflate being against like Zionists using Jews as like a shield to do their corrupt actions, and then they take the brunt.
Anti-Semitic.
of-
It's
Exactly.
Well,
Well, that's
people
what
don't
that's how they
realize
always
that Arabs
conflate
are
it.
Semitic.
yeah.
Well, exactly. That's what I mean.
Arabs
It's
are
a
Semitic,
term that's been
so-
completely distorted.
Right.
But anyway,
And I'm right there with Dan. Like I'm very anti-Zionist.
yeah,
Right.
because they control
think that-
U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah. No shit. Like why do
Look
we
at
hate
the
Russians
media.
so
Look
bad?
at the, yeah.
I don't know.
Look at the media coverage right now of the Palestinian protests. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you-
What
Yeah.
Palestinian protests?
exactly. That's all that you
What are
all that
talking
you
about,
read.
Jason?
Yeah,
I
look at
don't
the
know.
coverage. You don't see anything about Israeli snipers shooting kids 50 yards over the line or nothing like
Yeah.
that.
Well, dude, I saw a video from the sniper's fucking position, and they were laughing about sniping these kids. Like did you
That's so
see it?
fucking sick.
I got him. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, it's fucked up because I mean, there's extremism on both sides because I'm not going to
Yeah.
excuse like
I was
Hamas
gonna
and
say,
shit.
yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
not to say that Palestine's fucking innocent.
Exactly, and that's how people like can like they say, oh well, you're against Israel, so then you fucking must love
Yeah.
the fucking
Like I
jihadists,
posted
and I'm like, no,
one
what the fuck are you
anti-Israel
talking
thing, and
about,
then
dude?
all of a sudden I had like 50 friend requests for people in from people in Gaza, and I'm like, that's not just because I posted one anti-Israel thing doesn't mean I
That's
want
not
to
how
be your
any of this
fucking
works.
friend.
Yeah, like I
That's
just
not
don't
how
want
any of this
anybody
works.
being fucking genocided, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
shit.
Like
yeah,
that's like my stance on the whole thing. It's about like I'm pro humanity. Like I don't want people
right,
being fucking slaughtered. So it's
right,
not like I'm against like people because of those or because of a certain religion or because of a certain political ideology or whatever. Except for
right.
me, communist, but
Well, that
I'm an individualist. I don't fucking care what nation state you identify with. If you're an aggressive fucking asshole, I don't want to associate with you, and I think you're
exactly.
wrong.
I had a conversation with my mother about this several months ago about Islam, and I told her, I said, I hate Muslims, and she said, that's a very bigoted thing to say, and I said, no, it's not, because and the reason why I say that is because, and the reason why I say I hate Muslims and don't feel like it's a negative thing to say is because I've read the book, I read it.
Yeah, and it's not a race.
It's impossible.
It's not a race. Like it's an actual like philosophy and a governance system
like
and a religion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a whole bunch of things rolled into one, and I don't fucking like it.
So I told her, this is what I told her. I said, it's impossible to be both a decent human and a good Muslim.
Right.
You can be a decent human and a shitty Muslim and still claim to be a Muslim. That's fine.
Right. You can be a shitty human and a good Muslim.
The only way it's possible to be a good Muslim is to be a shitty fucking person.
Yeah.
Based off what the book says.
Yeah.
I read the fucking book.
You can't
fucking hide it from me, okay? Like
you can't have that and freedom. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
No.
Those two things.
Well, I mean, like a religion
Islam,
that excuses like
Islam is like
things like child brides and like shit like that. Like
yes.
I don't know, I can't
abusing
mesh with
women.
it. I'm sorry.
Abusing women, justifying rape.
Well, women are viewed as like property.
Islam is extremely totalitarian, and that's what people don't understand. It's not just a religion; it is a system of government. The government is built into it.
It's almost like Zionism because it's like a political ideology as well as a religion kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Almost
it's like anybody that I know that's is Dan gone?
Go ahead, Justin.
No, what I was going to say is it's my same kind of stance or belief about the Zionist plot to destroy Western culture is that they honestly believe that they're superior to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
The 12 tribes, they follow this. I mean, so it's not a secret to anybody that knows me. I'm an atheist. I still believe that you can be a subjectively moral person because all morality is subjective, but I can use objective and quantifiable metrics to kind of gauge morality, and that morality that I gauge using those metrics is through property rights. Property rights and the substantiation of property rights and the protection of property rights and the whole I would not want that to happen to me, therefore I will not do that to you.
Right.
Kind of thought process is where I derive my morality from. I don't believe in a higher power. I believe that humanity is the high power. We just need to find a way to make humanity what it was always supposed to be.
Right.
There you go. Make humanity great again. There's a slogan I can get behind.
There it is.
And to be clear, I wouldn't call myself an atheist essentially, but I don't really identify with any of the like modern religions either.
I mean, I'm a pagan. I'm a Viking.
Well, I think
I'm more like a pagan. But I feel the same way about the Vatican as I do about Islam. And the
Vatican's the Western Zionists.
Yeah.
The socialist
They're the worst.
Yeah. Religion like that, where people mix religion with force and coercion and government, that shit rots people's fucking brains.
But my
In
Guy
your
Fawkes,
hearts.
Jerica, my Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, hey,
The 5th of November.
remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason applied.
Like people didn't know that he wanted to install a Catholic theocracy.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's about like
Hey.
resisting the powers that be. No, it's not.
No, it's
It's
not.
about
It's a
movie.
it's
fucking
about
sadist.
forcing a preferred flavor of power.
I love the movie. Okay, stop ruining it for me.
All right, let's get on to an article, you guys.
Yes, let's do it.
Can
My
we
what?
talk about Dick Holder?
No, we can get to that guy. No,
Where'd Dan go?
He
He's
moves around.
muted,
moves
so
around,
he's going to do something.
Probably
All right,
take
this is,
Yeah, I'll be back in 1 second.
all right. When the tree started coming down, Teresa Red Terry went up. Now the 61-year-old mother of 3 is perched on a platform 32 feet in the air between 2 oak trees, trying to stop a natural gas pipeline from coming through land granted to her husband's family by the King of England in colonial times. For 3 weeks, she has endured rain, snow, hail, nighttime temperatures in the 20 and high winds. Her body is stiff and sore, and she huddles under the tarp to stay warm. It's too dark to read. She's bored. 10 days ago, police said family and friends can no longer bring her food and water. Officers are waiting at the base of the tree around the clock to arrest her when she finally comes down. She is going to be arrested for trespassing on her own property. Yeah. Essentially what it is a gas pipeline company was granted eminent domain against her wishes to
So
build.
theft?
Yeah, theft.
Okay.
It's
Just making sure I'm there.
300-mile-long, $3.5 billion project. And it just happens to go through her property in Virginia. And
Does she own it?
Yes, it's their land. They own it. And they
okay.
they were granted, the company was granted eminent domain.
So somebody who doesn't own the property was given permission to acquire the property without the consent of the person that does own the property by somebody else who doesn't own the property. Am I understanding that correctly?
Right.
Yes.
Eminent domain.
Oh, that's what that means. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. So what's the question?
Apparently they're mad at her for doing that, so they called
Yes.
out the
Oh,
bludgies,
really?
and they're
Yeah.
starving her out of her own tree.
She's sitting in trees.
Oh shit,
Hi,
it's
Mark.
What's up, y'all?
Holy echo, Batman.
Yeah.
Oh shit! There's a beer.
I'm driving. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Better than all right.
Yeah, you're pretty loud, Mark.
Oh, sorry. You'll have to turn me down a little bit. Just say turn me off.
Never.
We're better at turning you on anyways. With all of our goat memes and stuff.
Yeah. we were just talking
Hey.
about a
Hey,
pipeline.
wait. There's something that we gotta do, Jason.
Oh, we
remember?
gotta do it. Dan, where are you?
Yeah.
Get back
Where's
here.
Dan? Where's Dan, goddammit?
I'm here.
Dan,
Okay,
Dan,
it's time.
Start it.
You guys ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Marcus.
God,
Dear
yeah.
Mom.
Happy birthday to you.
Yesterday was Mark's birthday.
Yes, he turned 40. We're gonna send him like ointment
You old
and
fuck.
a cane.
40.
Yeah.
And diapers.
Yeah.
Diapers. Mark has to have diapers.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sending you caramels though.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I got a new address. So don't send them to the address that you've got.
No, I have.
This is the
I
most
have
unprofessional shit I've heard you driving and yelling and shit.
I have an address to send them to. I know your girlfriend, all right? I'm just saying.
Okay.
Freedom
Yeah.
Things
You
is
can
having a
send
heart
them
attack right now.
We're professionals.
Professional.
I'm literally naked in bed right now. With pink walls.
That's what she said.
It's fucking anarchy. Dude.
Oh.
That's right.
Yep, anarchist is fun. But we're talking about this this farm in Virginia, Mark. Got hit with eminent domain, and the 61-year-old matriarch of the family is living in the platform in a tree the last
Nice.
2 weeks. And there are police at the bottom of the tree waiting for her to come down so they can arrest her for trespassing.
Oh yeah, they'll starve her. They'll starve her out, dude.
Yeah, and they're starving her out. They're not letting her family
on her land. On her land. Yeah.
You know what's funny?
I hope she's dumping her shit buckets over the side.
Yes.
You know what's
Or
funny
just cut
is
a little
that,
hole in the platform.
Right.
like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I can't remember how long ago it was, like 2 years ago. They tried the same shit with a guy out in Nevada. And a bunch of motherfuckers out there with assault rifles fucking told those assholes to go away.
Oh yeah.
So maybe, hopefully, I mean, obviously, Jason, I hadn't heard of this story, or else.
It's on Wolf, yeah.
Right.
Roanoke County, Virginia.
Is it Roanoke?
What county?
That's down where
Roanoke
Slinky
County.
lives. That's down
yeah.
where Slinky
Roanoke.
lives.
I think he's in the next county over, but
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
tell him to
It's down
arm
that
up and
area.
go and defend the lady's property.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
All he has to do is set his 4-year-old loose, and the cops will fucking scatter. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
right.
bet that.
Exactly. That dude's got a little army.
Yeah.
They're a fucking bunch of heathens, man.
They are.
Yeah,
They're so fun.
It's really fucked up because they let's see last year or when the county first brought in electricity, the family was happy to give up their land for power lines to help the whole community. The gas line is going to go under their property, and the gas line goes from West Virginia all the way to the North Carolina line.
You guys, I can't hear anything but the feedback through Mark's.
Yeah, it's really
Is that
loud.
better?
That's better.
I'm on my phone in the truck, so I'm trying to figure out how to. I don't think I can get to the control here.
I
I
think we
can work
figured that out.
tonight.
Yeah, so you said that it was on the North Carolina-Virginia line,
What was?
Jason?
What's that?
You were saying that she's on the North Carolina-Virginia line?
No, that's where the
No, she's in Roanoke.
Yeah, Roanoke's further north than that.
Aha.
does that sound better to you guys?
Basically, she agreed to let the power lines.
I can't hear shit now.
To dig up her land and fucking destroy her actual ground control. She's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm fucking doing this 2 ways, and here's the federal government to help me out.
Yes.
State government or whoever.
Yes. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, it's
I can hear
Barely.
bullshit.
I can barely hear her.
Yeah, I can barely hear either.
What the fuck?
You should be able to just tap on the control thing and turn mine down, Jason.
That's what I did. I turned yours down and turned theirs all the way up. That's weird.
Huh.
I don't know.
I can hear everybody really good.
Bad audio makes I'm stupid. It's all Mark's fault.
It is. Turn the punch bowl, as usual.
Yeah, eminent domain is stupid.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know.
And again, we talked about it earlier. It's literally the essence of property rights, right? It's their property, it's their land. I mean, sure, it was granted them by the king during colonial days, blah 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 blah, that whole issue. Right?
Well, I mean, think about it this way. You buy a land, that's all. You still have to pay property tax to it.
Yeah, property taxes and rent.
So you don't actually own that. You're leasing it from the government.
Yeah.
So they found the scheme to fuck people out of property. That's the thing, is that literally all the land that's within the country is owned by the government. They lease it to you and they tell you that you own it.
Yes.
But then anytime they want to, they can just come and take it. Say, well, we need to eminent domain your shit because of fucking pipelines, because of fucking walls, because of ways.
Yep. That's freedom, bro.
Shit.
Nope. But we're the land.
You know what else is bullshit? Let me tell you what's bullshit. Speed cameras. Fuck those things, man. This is ridiculous.
Don't get Mark started about speed cameras in Maryland and DC.
Thankfully, I don't have those where I live.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, DC is the worst. Well, they're really bad with traffic light cameras, but DC has fucking, like, trucks that drive around and clock your speed and take pictures.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
Well, that's because it's more going around the Potomac.
Right?
Is that better, Jerica?
Dude, you're like in the lion's den, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
It's a little bit better.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Because
Y'all
before
need
I
to move
could
to a free state like Georgia. Georgia.
Yeah, California.
Right.
I'm in California. Dan's in upstate New York. None of us are free.
Yeah.
Mark's in Maryland.
Yeah, it's
fucking state as hell.
we're taxed to death up here, but at least where I live, there's TV cameras on the fucking streets and shit. You know, clocking them everywhere you go. So that's always a bonus.
I want to move to Wyoming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wyoming
would be great.
You can still kind of conduct your business in anonymity here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should all go to
The only problem with places like Wyoming and, you know, the states that people consider more free are the fucking people there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fucking kooky people out there. I mean, it's like they're like, yeah, you be as free as you want, unless it's something we disagree with.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I
That's the nice thing about places like Wyoming, though, is that there's not very many people at all. Like,
I legit, I have twice as many people in my county as are in the state of Wyoming.
Yes.
Yeah.
My good friend, she's friends with a couple of you guys. Sarah Tipton, she's right about guns. Like she lives in Western Wyoming. And there's some Mormon population there and whatnot. So like the bars are closed on Sundays. But like her county has 2 cops. She has constitutional carry.
No state income tax.
No state income tax. They're in the process of building like a cabin on their property for an Airbnb type of thing. No permits needed. No plans have to be filed. You only need a permit. You only have to plan a file if it's 2 stories tall.
Nice.
Huh.
Yes.
Dude, we should start a commune.
Yeah.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
We might be able to.
Can we not call it a commune though? Let's call it. Can we call it a compound?
Compound.
We'll just call it a neighborhood.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, that works. Whatever.
The
want to call it.
The inland
thing about anarchy, we can call it whatever we want to call it.
The inland and fam island.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to move somewhere tropical.
A neighborhood based on free market Yeah, exactly. We got to get that island.
Right.
You know, we can start a neighborhood
like
before we get to the
the
island. No.
All the really nice, or the least intrusive government places are fucking hellish climate-wise.
Yeah.
Like
Maine. Maine is fucking great, but god damn that weather.
Right.
Yeah,
well, they
right?
probably
Exactly.
it's probably because they know that people can only put up with shitty weather or shitty government. They can't put up with both, or they'll fucking
Yeah.
leave.
Where Sarah's at in Wyoming, they had just over 12 feet of snow this year.
Holy
Yeah.
fuck, dude.
Oh, and her front door, and her front door is at 7,100 feet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's not enough oxygen up there for me. I'm fat.
Well, Maine might as well be fucking Canada, to be quite honest with you.
Right?
Well,
I'm telling y'all.
except
Pitcairn
Canada's
Island, man.
fucking socialist.
Yeah, that is
Pitcairn
true.
Island. It's
It is run. It
tropical
is run by
island.
a super queer.
Yeah. What were you saying, Justin?
Castro's son.
Pitcairn Island. Pitcairn Island. It's a tropical island 1,000 miles east of New Zealand.
Yep.
There's like 150 people live on the whole fucking place. They don't have any taxes there.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sucks
Let's
because
do it.
They don't have any way of getting supplies and to get them shipped in, but fuck it. It's a tropical island.
Hey,
Right?
75 degrees year round.
chickens breed fast, and you can grow a lot of shit in 75 degrees.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'll eat bacon all day. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Right?
And it
Well,
is an
that's my
island,
one
so I
gripe
mean,
with
you can do some
Canadians is that
fishing.
they consider ham bacon.
That's why
Yeah.
I can't even. I
You
can't
know what I
even
mean?
with Canada.
It's kind of fucked up in my
Right.
in my mind.
I gotta-
Even with Canada.
I'm like,
I
yeah,
gotta-
you guys got that shit backwards.
I got a Canada story, you guys.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
I hope
nice?
Simon's watching this, by the way. We'll talk shit about his country all
I love Simon.
day.
Hey Jason, does your Canada story end with somebody being polite?
No.
Oh, okay.
What? We
No,
gotta hear
Your
this
mother's
shit
a nice
now.
lady. That's like an insult
No.
up in Canada.
A Canadian couple in British Columbia may be charged with assault because they lured a 28-year-old man who they say was propositioning the woman's 13-year-old daughter to their home, where they knocked him down and hog-tied him with zip ties.
Damn.
Wait, when
So
did
they
the
did the right
assault
thing.
happen, though?
When they lured him there, and when he showed up, the
They
couple
hog-tied him.
the
Like,
couple lured him.
That's a prelude to assault. When's the assault?
Yeah, so basically they did the right thing. Is what you're saying.
Right?
Yes, Canada hates vigilante justice. Yeah.
Canada is about
God
to become
forbid.
the next mean country.
Yeah.
Britain, Sweden, they're all mean countries. Like the whole country's mean. Did you know in the United Kingdom you have to show a fucking ID to buy carbonated beverages that we call sodas?
Yes.
Did you
yeah.
know in the
It's
UK
total
you
nanny
have
state,
you have to get a license to get TV service in the UK?
No,
Oh, yeah.
Did you-
Derek, you're wrong. You have to have a license to own a television.
To own a television.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just to own the fucking box.
Dude,
Wow.
do you remember that meme that I put up in Telegram of the dangerous arms dealer, the manhunt for the Lady of the Lake, handing out sharp weapons?
Yeah, I saw that, dude. That was great.
In the UK, you have to show a government issued ID to buy plastic picnic utensils.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fucking insane, man.
The whole fucking country's. I swear, I wish they had oil. Because if they did, you
Because
fucking
we
save
go.
them and save them from themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
They need some
They need
democracy.
somebody too.
I have friends that live in the UK, and I feel bad for them, man, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Like,
I don't know how they do it.
not only are they like fucking flooding their country with migrants or whatever, but like on top of that, they're fucking restricting everybody's freedom like to the fucking umpteenth degree. It's fucking
Did you
insane.
read that shit about the guy? Like a 78-year-old guy got fucking arrested because he stabbed a home invader.
He
Like
stabbed.
3 guys broke into
Oh
his
yeah,
house.
yeah.
Yep. He stabbed,
Yeah.
stabbed the home
And he
invader.
stabbed him with a fucking screwdriver. It
He was
wasn't even
facing-
a knife. It was a
He was
screwdriver.
facing charges, and people put up a freaking memorial to the burglar.
Like a memorial to the guy that fucking invaded his house. Yeah, yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. It's fucking insanity, dude. And like the whole thing
It's
is
like
that, like if you
Bizarro
defend your
world. I feel like
if
I'm
you
living
defend
in
yourself in your own
fucking
home, you're a
Bizarro
criminal.
world.
Opposite land.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Like,
Oh no, it's totally totally the Twilight Zone.
I gotta-
like,
Don't ever let that
I'm
shit
really
happen
worried
here,
because-
Americans.
that's what I'm saying. It's coming this way. It's coming this way. But guess what? They're not gonna fucking do it while I'm alive because I got guns, and my guns ain't going nowhere. Except
Right.
your
Yeah,
face
fuck
if you
that,
break into
dude.
my fucking house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pew, pew, pew. I got a UK story too.
All right, let's hear it.
Good luck.
I
Here
don't
we
know.
go.
All right,
Here we go.
try. Let me read it before you start cracking up and hurting yourselves laughing.
I can't make any promises.
A police officer has been caught selling himself for sex while on sick leave.
What's his name?
Detective Constable Richard Holder.
Yo, Dick Holder.
Detective Constable
Fucking
Richard
irony.
Holder
It's like
was
rich.
sacked without notice for gross
Sacked without
misconduct
notice.
and a disciplinary hearing on Monday, but he is the second Sussex police officer to have been discovered advertising himself as a prostitute in less than 2 years.
There's no way this is real. There's no way this is real.
That's what I'm
No,
saying,
it
right?
is.
This is
It's like some shit from the Onion
absolutely
Bros.
real. This is absolutely.
The dude's
Officer
name is
Dick Holder gets arrested for male prostitution.
Yep.
Police
Fucking
Constable
Christ.
Dick Holder.
Yes.
I'm hyperventilating right now. Like I'm having a serious episode.
Wait. Chief Constable Giles York told the hearing at Force headquarters in Louis, Sussex, that Holder had advertised himself on adultwork.com website using a Sweet Sensations account and was accepting payment for sexual encounters at his home while he was off duty and on sick leave.
Sex work
Nice.
is legitimate work.
It is.
It's more legitimate
Absolutely.
work than police work.
Fuck yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah. And with a name like Dick Holder, it's really what he should have been doing all
I mean,
along.
how?
He's a
Wait,
shoo-in.
it's just the puns keep coming, you guys.
Primary professional choice.
The puns keep coming. Mr. York said Holder's employment record showed he had, quote, a pattern of disruptive behavior that had been on the verge of criminal at times.
Yeah,
And,
he's holding his
and,
dick.
and struggled with underperformance, adding, quote, he seems to have never been an officer with any great glory about him.
Oh man.
Has he ever prematurely arrested anyone?
Any negligent discharge?
Oh my god.
Yo.
I'm gonna fucking pee, you guys.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What happens?
Officer Dick Holder. Are you okay there, Jericho?
No. It's like you hear that shit and you just turn into like school children. Oh, fuck.
She's losing it right now. I'm losing it right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, the New York Post headline says, cop named Dick Holder is fired for moonlighting as a prostitute.
He's the top man. That's fucking right, he is.
I wonder if he tried to beef up his quota to make up for it.
Damn, dude.
All right, that's enough.
Oh my god. My
Jokes are
face
done.
hurts.
What? Hey, Jason. What was the publication that posted that?
It was Metro UK, and then it was also like on the New York Post and a couple other ones.
Whoever the editors are for those two publications need a fucking raise and a promotion.
Exactly.
Like, right
That's
now.
some quality journalism right there.
I sent you the link, Dustin.
Yeah, I saw it. Cop named Dick Holder is fired.
Yeah, for being a male prostitute. Yes. Greatest.
It kind of makes me wonder though, like who was his clientele base?
Did he role play as a cop?
His job did come with a billy club and handcuffs.
Nice.
Oh, man.
He's like, I
Kinky
conveniently
shit
just
right there.
have this shit.
BDSM.
Oh,
Right?
been a bad girl officer.
Oh man.
Jesus.
Oh wow.
That might be like in terms of my favorite stories of all time. Like that might be right up there with the guy in Oregon that was on meth and he fought off like 15 cops while jerking off.
Yes, dude. Yes.
And they tased him and it had no
And
effect.
he's like, "Fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm going hard."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Beating off cops while beating off.
See,
In a
that just
bar.
proves
That's a
that men
real
can
hero.
can multitask, right?
That's a true American
Fucking
hero right
checkmate.
there.
Oh man, dude.
Hashtag life goals.
Yep.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
seriously.
That's up there with
Holy shit.
up there with the video of the beaver chewing on the wood, and the tree falls over on top of the beaver.
What do you got next, Jason?
Family farm faces prison for calling skim milk by its name.
What?
Wait, I'm sorry. One more time.
Family farmers face prison for calling skim milk by its name.
So like
What
they
is
called
skim
skim milk
milk's name?
skim milk.
Yes.
They called it skim milk.
Yeah. Forget narcotics. Uncle Sam has a new substance to crack down on. All natural skim milk. Food and Drug Administration regulations make it a federal crime for dairy farmers to call all natural skim milk exactly what it is, skim milk.
That shit happens all the time. It's fucking bullshit. Never mind. Go on with your story. Sorry.
Mark
Mark came
comes
out of
in
nowhere.
He
Came
Yeah,
in like
exactly.
a wrecking ball. Here's my entire
So instead, the FDA demands.
He's like, it's fucking bullshit.
He was nowhere to be
Dude,
found.
fucking dairy products? Oh my god. They talk about fucking guns and weed.
Yeah.
Where
Instead,
are you
the
driving from? Fucking New Jersey, dude?
I was at work. I moved this weekend. And this little fucking town in Sticks, the only fucking thing open was a 7-Eleven. I got my fucking turkey wrap.
Nice.
I thought that was a 40 ounce for a second.
Instead,
Okay, so, hey,
But no,
here's some legit.
that is
anarchist
bullshit.
fucking-
That they fucking
well, that's the thing. The FDA demands that farmers label additive-free milk, skim milk, as imitation milk product, because in the FDA's mind, skim milk isn't just the real thing.
I thought
Yep.
raw milk was the illegal one. I didn't think skim milk was.
That
Yep.
imitation milk product because they
Yeah.
don't add shit to it.
Yeah, to have real milk, it has to have vitamin A and D added.
Yeah, that's
To call
it.
it milk.
That's what it says. Under FDA regulations, in order for him to sell skim milk across state lines with the honest label skim milk, it needs to have some dishonest additives, artificial vitamins A and D, in amounts set by federal regulation.
Is this the same FDA that approves fucking vaccines that fucking have cancer in them and that are hiding the fucking cure for AIDS?
And
Yeah.
Ritalin for 4-year-olds and
Yeah.
oxycodone and
Yeah, the same one. Yeah,
Even though
that push.
heroin is way safer than any oxy drug.
Yeah.
so without these additives, the FDA requires sours to call his products imitation skim milk or imitation milk product.
Unfucking real.
Yeah, and people say we have capitalism.
No, nothing
Well,
like it.
so I saw, I forget what the page was. It might have been Being Libertarian or Liberty Hangouts or one of those, whatever. But I saw a tweet that was shared as a meme by one of the Liberty pages that was probably the best answer to the question of real socialism has never been tried before, blah, blah, blah. And it said basically, well, real capitalism has never been tried before either. Almost socialism has brought people to starvation and abject poverty all over the world, whereas almost capitalism has poor family.
Right.
I can't disagree with that one.
I love almost capitalism. Shit.
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
fucking best thing that I've ever lived in. I would like real capitalism. I love that. But
Yeah.
for now,
Well, the freer the markets,
live in-
the more prosperous the people are going to be.
Yeah,
that's why you should buy prostitutes.
Well, if you guys want to hear some shit about the FDA, the same FDA that says you can't have real skim milk without adding shit to it also says that you can put any fucking thing in a jar that's sweet and label it real honey.
Jeez.
Yeah, right.
Like, there's no legal definition for honey. Like, it's a bee per the government.
Yeah,
But yet, you can't have fucking just milk with some of the fat taken out of it.
Yep.
It's just not possible.
Jesus.
Pasteurization, man.
This is
That's
the same
red line.
This is the
Right.
same FDA that made it legal for chicken producers in the U.S. to kill their chickens, freeze them, ship them to China where they are feathered and butchered and cleaned, shipped back to the U.S. and sold as hormone-free made in the USA chicken.
That's like super inefficient, dude.
It's no because of the laws
Dan,
here
that's
and
the
all the
government,
regulations. Because of the laws and
No, I know,
all the
I know.
regulations, it's cheaper for some companies to ship to China for processing than it is to process in the U.S.
Yeah. How fucked up
Hey,
is that?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as long as it's not being mandated or tax subsidized.
Uh-huh.
Or
Absolutely.
forced. I mean, fuck it, man. Like I said, the market abides. The market abides.
For every demand,
If-
for every market,
If
for every
that
demand,
happens to be the
market.
most efficient way to fucking get chicken nuggets at McDonald's, I fucking love me some McDonald's chicken nuggets. Okay. I eat the fuck
but
out.
it's not like that path of efficiency is artificial
Yeah.
because of government regulations.
Yes. it
It's not
is.
the most efficient way. It's just the only possible or the
Or
most
it's the
efficient
most possible.
way
It's-
without crossing the government.
It's the least expensive way within the terms of legality.
Right.
Well, it's like I talked to. I have a few. Please don't tell anybody this, but I have a few liberal friends.
Nobody knows except the entire internet now. Just.
Right.
Well, just let's pretend this conversation never happened. Okay.
Well, it's
But-
live on it's live on
I
YouTube.
do too, but there are some logical ones left on the left.
There
on the left.
there
You
are,
know what I mean?
and the few that I have that are actual liberals, I don't even lump them in as leftists because leftist and liberal are not necessarily the same thing. You have to be a leftist to be a liberal, but you don't have to be a liberal to be a leftist.
Exactly.
Is
Okay.
that correct? Either way,
Yeah,
Well, yeah, 'cause,
sounds
like-
right to me.
talked about
Like
we talked
Locke in
about
theory,
corporations.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like
So we
Locke
talk- I
was
talk- I
Locke
talk to
was
people
a
about-
liberal. He wasn't a leftist.
Well, he was classically liberal, which is
Exactly.
somewhat libertarian-ish. I
Yeah.
don't know. But either way, we talked about corporations, and I keep trying to explain this to people. Like, listen, man, incorporating is a legal practice. You can only do that if you have governments.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not a business practice. Businesses don't incorporate.
That's what.
Right.
That's exactly how I try to
Corporations
explain it to people.
Oh,
Well, okay, so I'm going to explain it right now. So incorporating the legal practice grants the corporation protectivist policies that are enforced by government guns.
Right.
Yep.
Shit like the EpiPen lady. Okay, so whoever the woman that owns the EpiPen, copyright EpiPen, fucking, epinephrine
Patent or whatever.
auto-injector patent. And don't get me started on intellectual property rights being the most. That's the only property right that's not an actual property right is intellectual property.
Right.
Your idea is your idea until you package it, market it, advertise it, and then fucking sell it. As soon as you do that, it's not your fucking idea anymore. You sold it.
Yep.
You made money
Right.
off of it. It's now somebody else's idea
Yeah.
that I paid for,
Right.
that I bought. Now I can do whatever the
Yep.
fuck I want to do with it. Reverse engineer it, find a way to make it better, find a way to make it more efficiently, find a way to make it more effective, find a way to make it cheaper, and then resell it. It's not your idea anymore.
Right.
So the EpiPen lady has the corporate protection policies that are backed by government guns that
Mhm.
allow her to dictate an artificial, what Derek says, an artificially inflated market demand
Mhm.
by artificially regulating and cutting the supply of that product.
Right.
That's corporations.
And-
that's what they do.
Yeah, they create artificial scarcity. And not only that, they're
enforcing barriers
subsidized.
to competition.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's legislation put in place to, stifle competition, and then there's also, taxpayer subsidies provided to these corporations so that they don't fail. You know what I mean? In a true free market,
thing in a free market is too big to fail. All this
exactly.
shit, the whole
Because the consumers could pull out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Dan
A
said
free
it
market. Yeah. In a free market, when there is alternatives to a product or to a company, the companies have to compete for the consumer's dollar. So they create a better product at a lower price.
And innovation makes things more efficient, and
that doesn't happen in a protectionist economy.
No.
And again, incorporating is the legal practice of protecting the companies that have the highest amount of influence within the government sphere to then give themselves this artificially inflated demand and artificially suppressed supply.
And that's exactly what the American economy is. It's corporatism.
It's a total circle jerk.
Not capitalism.
Yes.
Total circle jerk.
Yes. Trust me, I love circle jerks.
Who doesn't?
Justin was in the Navy, you guys. He's been...
I mean, it's not gay if you're underway. You know what I'm saying? Derek was in the Navy too. Don't fucking get
right.
Okay?
That's right. I know
Tons
how
of
that shit
semen.
goes.
Steaming. Fucking love it. Hey man, fuck what you heard. I miss being at sea. That shit was fun.
Well, I'm sure you form like a certain kind of camaraderie between all you guys on the ship and shit. So.
Oh, we used to do all kinds of Lord of the Fly type shit. We used to fucking duct tape people to fucking overhead pipes. Trice them up, man. Derek, have you ever been triced up?
No, I wasn't. No.
So let me explain this real quick.
I wasn't in the good old boys club, because
a girl, you don't have to be in a boys club. You can be in a girls club. Just don't leave your fucking racket locked, and you won't get triced up.
Yeah, no, women in the military aren't nice to each other. You know that, Justin.
They are not.
Women in the military are not fucking nice to each other.
Some of the worst. Oh my god, they're some of the worst.
Yeah.
So catty.
Oh, fucking A, Mark. God.
Right, dude. My ears are bleeding now.
I'm sorry.
All right. Not to be a misogynist or anything, but I'm going to be a misogynist. Well, maybe not. Anyway, women are fucking horrible to each other in general.
Yeah.
That's
for the most part.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, and it's like, I don't know.
I don't care about your feelings.
This is true. But I've noticed that a lot is that,
I try to
there's
be
more
nice to these fucking women, and I don't know, they just, for some reason, it just never worked. I have very few actual female friends that I spend time with.
Well, I think it comes down to base psychology of women competing to be the
alpha, really.
The bearer of children, though. They win out, you know what I mean, amongst the males. Okay, well, I'm the shit kind of thing. You know what I mean? It all goes back to base fucking natural instincts, kind of. Even if they're not thinking of it like that.
Right, and
if you're
looking at it from an anthropological standpoint, for women, reproduction is a scarcer resource than it is for men.
Yeah.
Men have more opportunity to reproduce than women do.
I can impregnate.
So you guys have to be way more selective.
Right.
Yeah. Women can only get pregnant once every 9 months unless they artificially or naturally lose the baby.
Right. Right.
So
and that's really pushing it, because there's a recovery period. So it's
body needs to recover.
Right. It's really once every 11 months you can.
So what Dan was saying is, and I think this is one of the biggest problems with modern society, especially in the West these days, is that people refuse to believe that physiology and biology are real things. That we all have that we're all born and bred into. Like, yeah, I understand societal gender norms and societal, concepts.
But we have biological drivers. We all do, and
Yes.
you need to understand them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the problem, is that these days, especially now in the West, and that's why, okay, so I forget where I read it, but apparently the reason that Europe and now North America are starting to import massive amounts of quote-unquote refugees from places in which don't share the same culture ideologies.
Yeah.
Because
cultural values.
is because essentially I hate to make it about race, but it's basically about race. White Westerners are not breeding.
Yeah.
So
the
population that's dying. The baby boomers are dying. They're going to be gone within 10 years, 20 years. They're going to be gone.
The replacement rate on average is 1.5 children.
I read it was 2.2
per couple
to sustain.
Well, yeah. Well, that's like base is like 1.5, but 2.2 is like preferable, obviously.
Preferred.
But I mean,
hey,
like
we did
anything,
our part.
anything beyond that,
boys.
like. But that's the
There you
whole
go.
thing that
Hey.
comes along with like a high
Two at once.
IQ population is that people question having children, like the pros and cons of having children, whereas people that are of a lower IQ tend to just have children.
They just fucking
because
breed.
they're irresponsible. Exactly.
Well,
it's like idiocracy.
So again, hate to bring up somebody who is not within good standing of the group, but Jared Howe talks about RK selection theory a lot. But it's relevant because case selected or low time preference, organisms / groups tend to think about the future and plan for the long haul. Like, okay, I would love to have 7 kids, but I can't fucking afford it.
Right.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to do it. Whereas the R-selected high time preference organisms and groups tend to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to breed my ass off and, we'll fuck the repercussions. We'll just, hope for the best
we'll
later.
deal with it when it comes.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The government will pay for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and who is
somehow it's all going to work.
But I think
out.
that kind of transcends race because there's white people that do that, there's black people that do that, there's Latinos that do that. Like,
that's why
it goes.
That's
it
why
kind
I say
of like,
I don't think it's a race issue. I think it's a culture issue.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so
and an IQ issue and an ambition issue
exactly.
and
So the term that I use, and Derek brought up earlier, is tribalism. It's tribe. Right. So the example that I use and the example that I really promote and advocate is that tribe transcends race, but not nation. Okay. So for example, Russians in Siberia don't look anything like Russians in Moscow.
No, not at all.
You'd never fucking know the difference.
No, they're closer. They're closer to the Eskimos and the Alaskan Inuits than they are.
Mongolians.
Eastern Europe.
You goddamn Mongolian.
Mongolians. They're all Russians, right?
Yeah, but they're all Russians. Yeah.
But they're all Russians, and they fucking speak Russian, and they live Russian, and they drink vodka, and they drive fucking Yugos.
And that's their tribe.
And that's their tribe. They're Russians, right? So then the inverse of that is that's a group of people that are tribally connected, that live in the same country, but are not necessarily the same racial demographic.
And to me, the term tribe denotes a more like voluntary participation in a culture.
So the inverse of that is I have a really good friend of mine. His name is Pang. He may even be listening, probably not though, because I'm trying to walk him over to the light. He's a little bit of a neocon, like I am, but so Pang is Hmong, right? The Hmong live in an area that is basically Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, that Siamese Peninsula type of place.
Yep.
That's where the Hmong are, right? That's their tribe.
Rice farmers.
But they're not Vietnamese, they're not Cambodian, and they're not Laotian, they're Hmong. Even though the tribe lives within those 3 countries.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
Or zips, according to Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
Is there a song Gran Torino?
Gran Torino, right? and like, I mean, that movie wasn't the first time I've ever been exposed to Hmong, because as Jason probably has been exposed living in California, there's a lot of very ethnically diverse cultures in California, and Hmong is one of them. And and it was kind of coincidence that I met a Hmong guy in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. So that was my whole thing. Is like even the United States, and this is where I think the secessionist ideology of libertarianism needs to get more burned, as we say. We need to. I want to push that harder than what I've pushed in the past, as far as just the non-aggression principle is awesome. I love it. It's beautiful, but that's an intangible thing that people don't can't always grasp. But they can grasp secessionism. They can grasp, hey man, the Bible Belt and the Pacific Northwest don't have anything in common.
No, not at all.
At all.
Right.
So why?
Well, and if you think about it, it's
people.
Isn't California going for secession again? This go around. This
No, not secession. California is going for a breakup.
3-state breakup.
That's
seven.
This
but
is
if
how
you
I
think
see it.
about
Is
it,
like
like
the
secession is like stitched into the fabric of American culture.
Yes.
Because of the American Revolution, everybody's so proud of breaking away from the oppressive previous regime and creating their own thing.
On July 4th, we celebrate secession, but if you mention that to Americans these days, they'll call you a fucking traitor and claim that you're being treated.
Well, of course. I mean, look at the way that history has shown the Confederate States when they succeeded from the Union. Look at how history has completely
villainized them,
villainized it, and turned them into demons. I mean, Confederate statues. They're still arguing about Confederate statues and bringing them down.
Right.
I mean,
it's just highly tragic that the premise behind the Southern or the Confederate secession was about states' rights to own slaves.
Right.
If that wasn't the main fucking thing, if it was anything but that,
things would have gone differently.
First of all, we probably wouldn't have 50 United States. We'd probably have a bunch of individual sovereign states, which is what the United States was supposed to be under the Articles of Confederation, which we talked about like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
An hour and a half ago.
Or an hour and a half ago. But it just so
happens
that they picked the worst possible fucking
on purpose.
Yeah.
They picked the worst possible
axe to grind
ride on into that ideology.
Right.
Anything else, if they would have picked any fucking thing else, it would have been the best thing that you've ever heard of, and we'd be lauding them as heroes today.
Yeah. And side note, the whole Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves in the southern states.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
The North had slaves for another 3 years until the passage of the amendment.
Lincoln said in the Douglas debates when he was running for president, in the Douglas debates, he said, if I could preserve the Union without freeing any slaves, I would. If I could preserve the Union with only freeing the slaves in the North, I would. If I could preserve the Union by freeing all the slaves, I would. All I care about is preserving the Union. That's all. I mean, he said it. It's fucking
and it's not so much, and it's not even like in a historical context. It's not even that people were so married to the idea of owning other people. It was economic. Their entire economy fucking demanded it. The
North imposed tariffs on the fucking South before the Civil War even started, because they had to import a lot of their goods because they didn't have the manufacturing base the North did.
Right.
So that was kind of the catalyst for it, was that they kind of undermined their economy.
You're only supposed to impose tariffs on foreign countries, but they did it to their own country.
Yeah.
Right.
Like no big deal.
Yeah.
Well, Lincoln was a total scumbag. He fucking imprisoned senators.
Hey, speaking of tariffs,
all kinds of shit. He suspended the habeas corpus, all kinds of shit.
Can we talk about the tariff battle between Trump and China?
Oh yeah, that leads right into it.
Well, I just find it highly comical that the United States basically is owned by Chinese debt.
Mm-hmm.
We literally borrow all sorts of fucking debt from China.
Yeah.
On a secondly basis, but we're gonna somehow beat them in a tariff war. Like that's really happening.
Yeah.
It's 720 deep chest, my dude.
Yeah. Did you
That's
did you guys
Better
hear what
believe it.
Trump said today about
No.
the market, the economy? Like he has all
No.
these tariffs going on, and then Trump today on a speech on Earth Day, he said that insisting that a quote market-driven economy is essential to protecting the environment. Yeah.
Well, he's right, but we don't have that.
No,
Right.
we don't have
Yeah,
that
no,
because
not
you
at
keep freaking imposing tariffs on everything.
Yeah, it's artificial. It's artificial manipulation of supply and demand. It's.
Yeah, here
And
says
I'll tell you what.
And we
honestly,
don't have it because of things like environmental regulations.
This is the best, but this is the okay. And this is a quote. This is Trump's words. For this reason, my administration is dedicated to removing unnecessary and harmful regulations that restrain economic growth and make it more difficult for local communities to prosper and choose the best solutions for their environment. This, while
that basically sounds a lot like somebody when you ask a politician a question like, "So,
Yep.
President Trump, how do you plan on fixing the economy?" Well, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. Well, what we plan on doing is we recognize that the economy is very important, and we need to make sure that we have a strong economy, and that when we have a strong economy, that it's something that
You're gonna do
benefits
everything.
all of
Next
Americans.
question.
Right, exactly. And so
Sounds a lot like potato to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't actually answer the question. Like, hey,
no,
like I mean, my favorite is when you ask them a yes or no question, like yes or no, is this good or is this bad? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. So what I think is that the American people really need to be blah 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 blah, and like I'm like yes or no. It's a grand total of 4 letters.
One fucking syllable. We just need one goddamn fucking syllable.
That's it.
Well, yeah,
You don't even really have to say
politics.
anything, just kind of grunt. Yeah, no.
Politics is the art.
Shit, just grunt.
Yeah. Politics is the art. Politics is the art of speaking out of your mouth and your ass at the same time without saying it.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though.
Saying a whole lot of nothing.
I love Trump. I love him for this very simple reason: is that I never thought in my lifetime I would see somebody that made the idea of politics so fucking insane,
So ridiculous.
so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
The man is a meme.
Yeah, he's a fucking walking meme. I love him.
Yeah, it's
Just
like
wait,
his
just
entire
wait.
his
It's
entire
gonna
investiture is POTUS. It's like absurdity theater. It's fucking
Oh, absolutely.
amazing.
He responds to Kanye West and LeBron James tweets. I fucking love the guy.
It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better because Joe Biden right now is leading Democrat to challenge Trump.
Yeah, for 2020.
Please.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you
Please
serious?
let that be true.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Can you imagine a Trump-Biden debate?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Trump will
Please
probably
let that
call
be
I
him
true.
a
might
pedophile in
actually
fucking public.
watch that. Like, I might actually watch that. Normally, I don't fucking pay any attention, but
No.
that I
Trump will probably be
What
like,
would be
every time you're touching that girl on video.
Even better.
it would be the
Every
Bernie-
Uncle Joe.
And if Bernie runs
best.
again
Right.
also, Biden,
Holy
No
shit.
refunds.
Oh, that would be
Holy shit.
fantastic.
no.
All it
oh my
needs
god.
is Vermin Supreme, and it would be fucking
Yeah, dude.
Hey, you know what? Fucking
epic.
3 ponies. 3 ponies and toothpaste.
Zombie powered fucking
Pony-based
apocalypse.
economy.
fighting
I love it, dude.
ISIS time machines.
The only thing that would be better than Trump versus Biden 2020 is Trump Biden on the same ticket. I don't care how you
That would be
Trump was running as president, Biden was VP, or vice versa. It wouldn't matter.
That would be the prequel to
Hands
Idiocracy. That would be
Would
the
you
prequel
say
to Idiocracy.
Biden and Trump doing a DP
Yeah.
on what's her name? Stormy whatever.
Stormy Daniels.
Hey, my girl. That's my girl.
Yep.
Hey, speaking of like the
That'd just be a
Democrat
test run for
primaries
her,
and shit
Jesus
like
Christ.
that. What was that about? Like Hillary Clinton is so pissed off at her campaign
Oh
team
no, she was.
because she's tired of
that
hearing
was-
about how nobody likes her.
That was in the book. That was in the book written by one of her campaign staffers. And it's supposedly a quote because they would tell her the poll numbers every single day,
Yeah.
and she would get angry and tell the staff that I'm tired of hearing how nobody likes me.
Well, then
He's a
drop out
fucking
of the
war criminal,
fucking
dude. What do you
race,
expect?
You have
Exactly.
Dude,
Jesus.
Oh my God.
The 2016 election was the perfect storm of shenanigans.
Oh.
The Democrats literally conspired against Bernie. As much as I hate that communist piece of shit, they conspired against Bernie. For all intent and purposes, he should have been the Democrat nominee for the general election.
Oh, he totally would have
He
been.
should have, and they
probably
put in
would've beat
somebody
Trump.
that everybody fucking hates.
They literally picked the most unlikable, the most unlike, the most horrible, awful excuse for a human being. They're like,
she's a whore for the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, exactly.
No, well, like we
They're
have
like, hey,
so
you know what could
we
go
have
wrong?
friends. We have friends that are like in the Secret Service and the Capitol Police and shit like that. Anybody you see serving on Hillary Clinton's Secret Service detail, they fucked up. That is a punishment detail being put on Hillary Clinton's Secret Service.
Oh yeah,
it's true because she's such a horrible person. She
Kevin,
treats them like they're
what did
less
Vernon
than
Troyer
animals.
know about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the one Secret Service guy wrote a fucking a book about how his experience under the Clinton administration. He said that the Hillary literally referred to them as dogs.
Dogs, and would throw furniture at them when she was angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a fucking crazy bitch,
she's
dude.
Just a horrible piece of shit of a person.
She
and
is.
the Democrats are like, yeah, this is the greatest.
But it was
idea
the
we had.
Russians that stopped her from winning.
Oh, totally the Russians' fault.
That's what I was trying to explain to like my liberal friend that I was telling you about earlier when she was asking me questions, and she's like, "Well, do you think that Trump colluded with the Russians?" I was like, "Dude, no. I was like, if you want to look for collusion, I was like, look at AIPAC. I was like, they're fucking not even a registered foreign agent, and they fucking influence every fucking single election down to the local level."
Yeah.
And like, everybody works on their behalf in order to even get into the fucking federal government. You're talking about Russia? Like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm like,
thing.
it's the Rothschilds that control all these fucking central banks that control all the governments. So I was like, it's not necessarily about the politician colluding with anybody because they're all fucking in bed with the people that run everything.
Oh, yeah, the people that truly run things, they'll never be on the ballot.
Exactly.
No, they've never been on the ballot.
So the whole collusion thing stems from the leak of the DNC emails with the Hillary Clinton emails,
which was done by Seth Rich,
emails, right? Like that's the whole argument for the collusion thing. But Julian Assange said multiple times through WikiLeaks that no, it wasn't anybody in the U.S. or the Russians that leaked this information. It was a British guy,
right,
who happened to be related to or had some kind of affiliation with somebody within the Democratic National Convention that had access to Hillary's 3 or 4 PDA devices that she did.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It was a leak. It wasn't a hack.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he probably passed off a thumb drive or something. You know what I mean? With all the files.
They kept saying like the Russians did it. I'm like, but Julian Assange, whose organization WikiLeaks published the leak.
Yeah.
Hence the name WikiLeaks.
Right.
Said on multiple occasions it wasn't the Russians or the Americans. It was some British dude.
Well, WikiLeaks has never had to apologize or withdraw a story.
What kills me about this, where they're like, "Oh, you interfered in our election." What? By fucking exposing actually true fucking things that you said.
I actually had real life human beings that supposedly have brains in their head tell me that it doesn't matter what the email said; it matters how we got them. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
No, it
that's
matters.
A real thing. That's a real thing that a human being that supposedly has a brain in their skull would say. It doesn't matter what the email said; it matters how. No, negative.
That's how you know somebody's truly brainwashed, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's
about the content, not about who fucking provided it.
And let's not even into the cognitive dissonance of complaining about the U.S. election supposedly being altered or anything or influenced. It's not like the U.S. has ever done that to another country.
Right.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what I mean.
Seriously.
One of my
favorite. Like they've done it like 80-something different times, and they've fucking been successful maybe 50.
One of my favorite things of the hit television show Archer that's on FXX. I'm not being paid for this advertisement, but I love that show.
I fucking love Archer.
One of my favorite themes of that show is how starts Wednesday, my birthday,
Nice.
April 25th. I'll be 35 years old.
Oh,
Happy
do we have
birthday,
to
man.
sing happy birthday to you now, Justin?
We can wait until Wednesday. It's still another little 48 hours.
But we're all together
all the
now.
cool kids are in
Fucking
April.
youngsters.
But that's one of my
Youngsters.
favorite themes of the show is that when they were, and I love how the writers changed the whole storyline of that series because of ISIS. Because that show came out before ISIS was a real thing. And then ISIS became a thing, and you're like, oh shit, we can't have our fucking spy organization be called ISIS, because that's just too similar to the real truth, that the spy organization that we know as the Central Intelligence Agency is ISIS.
Right.
But yeah, I was getting to the point of overthrowing democratically elected governments is what we're good at.
Well, for example, like in
Syria.
Dude, we talk about regime toppling.
Yeah.
Every fight.
I do think it comes up almost every.
It really does. Because it doesn't fucking work.
It's an important thing that people have to understand. You know what I mean? Because it's not like these people just overthrow their own governments. It's either a color revolution that's funded by NGO corporations or whatever, or it's the CIA going in themselves and then taking these people out with CIA jackals. Because what's his name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Confessions
he wrote
of an Economic Hitman.
Exactly.
Yep. Right.
There you go. So he talked about how if
I have
people
a
don't comply with
free PDF link for that book.
Yeah. And he talked about how if these people don't comply with the corporate demands of installing corporations within their countries and controlling their resources and whatnot, they'll send in CIA jackals to fucking eliminate them and install a puppet government. But for example, what's going on in Syria with Assad, he's not exactly going along with what everybody wants him to do, especially the Zionist plan of Greater Israel.
The Levant.
Yeah, well, Oded Ninan wrote a document back in, I think, the 80s where he talked about how they wanted to balkanize the entire Middle East so that it was easier to control these people in terms of grouping them in sectarian sections. Like, for example, like how they broke up Iraq into Shia, Sunni, and what's the other group? But anyway, they broke it up into like tribal sections. So that it's easier to control these people. And that was like essentially the plan, because that's how Israel plans on expanding their from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is
divide and
Israel,
conquer.
which is what
it
they
always comes down to
were
divide and conquer.
essentially promised by God.
Yeah, the Levant.
But
it's Levant. It's basically like you said. It's the West Bank all the way up through the Euphrates and the cradle of civilization, the Tigris and Euphrates River. In between the two, where modern day Baghdad is supposedly the Garden of Eden, and that's where the chosen people, the 12 tribes, that's where they were. Their land was promised, and that goes to what Dan says is basically the Zionist conspiracy is not really a theory anymore. They're not even hiding it. They've told they've told people that that's the plan. And
well, even Netanyahu said that they were benefiting. Like, you can look it up. It was a Democracy Now! I think quoted it or something, and they said that Netanyahu said that they're benefiting from the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon and the war in Iraq.
Of course.
And it's like, so if you go by the notion of like Cubono, who benefits from the fucking situation,
follow the money, or
these fucking people are admitting that they benefit from it.
Right.
It's like, hello.
Yeah.
Well, it's
fucking insane.
The whole concept revolves around essentially kind of what you talked about as far as the jackals, the economic hitmen. It's the idea that and this goes, and so what really first got me kind of critically thinking and no longer buying into the force-fed dogma of American
exceptionalism
was the I don't even know if it's called a documentary. I don't know what it's called, but the Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And essentially that there are 3 institutions of control that humans have used for all of time and creation to control other humans. And it started out with religion, because you can't control a group of people if they don't have anything to fear, and they need to fear something, so they fear hell. And they fear the idea that if you don't do as the creator or as the deity wishes, then you'll be punished in the afterlife, because at the time there was no way to kind of make real earthly punishment. Like, okay, you kill people, but whatever. Like back in the ancient and prehistoric times,
you have to be able to promise eternal torment.
Yes, you have to give somebody something worse than death.
Right.
And something better than life, which is the afterlife if you're a good religious person, right? And then once that became a little bit too easy to kind of question, then came governments. Feudalist governments, kings and monarchs who were at the times, they were ordained kings.
Right,
and
the
queens,
divine right of kings.
The divine right of
that's how they segue religion into
succession.
Government.
Right, that's how you segue the religion. And now we're in the postmodern world of control, and we do that with economies. But you still have these people, the Zionists specifically, that use all 3 of these institutions of control and make them into one large, I guess, conglomerate of oppression, and that is that they use the religion that they believe that they are the chosen people of God, this person or this entity that they consider to be the all-powerful creator of the universe, that they're his chosen people, that they will then use governments and economies to push their desired goal of the Levant, which is to basically reclaim their holy land, their chosen, their promised land. And that they will use anybody and anything, and it doesn't matter how many bodies they stack, they'll do it in order to get to that point. And
I don't even know why they want it. That land is a fucking shithole.
But
it sucks over there. I've been there.
So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I just found out about this like maybe a week or 2 ago, and it's called the Talpiot program, right? TALPIOT. If you want to look it up. And what it is, it's an elite offshoot of the IDF. It's like you have to be like in the 1 percentile to even get into this like program, right? And what they do is they set up like shell corporations for the IDF, like Mossad kind of fucking like offshoot, and they like they infiltrate the economic sector, the tech sector, all these like sectors of the economy, and it's all Israeli controlled, so that they can manipulate the markets. Also, on top of that, what they do is take the foreign aid that we give them, and other countries that they give them, out of quote unquote reparations, Holocaust, or whatever, and they take that money and invest it in their tech sector. Now they're the leading tech sector in the whole entire world, out of Tel Aviv, and they control all the Intel chips that are produced for the entire world, for like all the smart cities, for all the Internet of Things, that require Intel chips to even operate. And what they do is they backdoor these Intel chips. Because yeah, exactly. So they can manipulate the whole fucking entire Internet of Things.
Thank you.
Hey, I meant to say, like,
and that's how you take over global control through technology.
Yeah. So we've almost been on the air for 2 hours. Did we have any comments?
Only one. It only popped up about a minute ago.
Okay.
Tara Smith, she says, the state is the new god. Obedience to it is considered the only morality that matters is all fear-based. And she says...
I would say that's not even the new god. It's the old god repackaged.
It's the old god repackaged.
Yeah.
And she also says Trump's wall will be created by an Israeli company. At least that's what I've read.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Honestly, so going back to Trump, I said earlier that I love him because he's a walking meme, and I truly mean that. He's a walking meme, and I talked about it before. But honestly, like I said the same things about Obama, and I said same things about W. Is that when they accidentally do something that promotes libertarianism or liberty ideology and reduces the scope of the state, I will always give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I agree. There's
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yes. Still find that every once in a while.
As much as I talk shit about Obama, and as much as I dislike Obama, I did agree with him on a couple of things, like specifically like breed specific legislation regarding dogs and things like that. But
Right.
Like
I loved when Obama dropped the sanctions on Iran.
Yeah,
Why do we hate Iran again? I forget. Is there a reason for that, or is it just because
they don't use the petrodollar, and they don't have an IMF bank.
You know what's amazing? I was watching, for example, before we cut the show off, I was watching this documentary, and this guy Rick Steves, he does this like travel program where he goes country to country and kind of interacts with the people that live there, right? So I was watching the one that he went to travel and he traveled to Iran, and he was talking to all the people there, and they were like, we don't hate Americans. Like we want to get along with you guys. It's our governments that have the problem with each other.
Yeah.
And then we get stuck in the middle, and then we have to fucking kill each other because our governments fucking have an issue with each other. They're like, on an individual basis or on like a cultural person basis.
And
like
that's
we don't
all
have an
war
issue with you
has
guys.
ever been.
Exactly.
Is innocent people killing each other over the fucking beefs between the elites.
Yeah, and that's what I've always said, and like that just proved my theory that like these people, like they can differentiate between the people that live in a country and the government that fucking operates over top of them.
Right.
I was in Malta in 2004 and I partied with a bunch of Saudi guys. They were awesome, man. We got shit faced, and all we did was talk shit about governments. It was like that was one of the few times
we're all just people.
Yeah.
I was like, man, these are just regular dudes. They're like 20-year-old guys like me, and we were in Malta of all places.
Yeah.
And I was like,
people are people pretty much anywhere you go.
I was like, no shit, dude, I'm on vacation too. This is fucking awesome.
Anywhoomst.
Well, I got one more story I want to jump on real quick, you guys. That shouldn't take very long.
Okay.
In Louisiana, threatening to file a complaint against police can lead to a 5-year prison sentence.
Wait, what? One more time?
In Louisiana, threatening to file a complaint against the police can lead to a 5-year prison sentence.
That's fantastic.
On April 30th, 2015, Mark, king of the one-liners.
I thought he was gone. He popped up.
Oh, was I off? I was scrolling through some Pornhub. Sorry.
No fat life tonight.
No.
He's like an STD. He's there. So, all right, on April 30th, 2015, William Odbin Jr. was at home with his wife in Livingston Parish, Louisiana, when a patrol car from the sheriff's office pulled onto his street. The deputy, William Durkin, was there to investigate a reckless driving complaint. Aubin, who wasn't involved in the incident, but he knew about it and went outside his home to speak to Durkin. During a vulgar and combative conversation, according to Aubin, Durkin repeatedly called Aubin a pussy. So I'm calling your supervisor, Aubin said. I'm going to get you fired. Aubin took out his cell phone, called the sheriff's department, and started walking back toward his house. But before he made it inside, Durbin arrested him. The charge, intimidation of a public official, a felony that Louisiana carries a maximum penalty of 5 years of imprisonment.
Oh my God.
So he tried to fucking check the police officer's fucking like abuse of quote unquote authority, right?
Yep.
And then the fucking guy gets arrested for fucking
2015, Mark. 2 years or 3 years, sorry.
I mean, has he been to court for it or anything?
Yeah, the 21st Judicial District Attorney's Office, whose jurisdiction includes Livingston Parish, ultimately declined to prosecute. But in a lawsuit filed in April 2016, the U.S. District Court challenged the constitutionality of the statute that led to his arrest. The statute prohibits, quote, the use of violence, force, or threats with the intent to influence an official's blah, blah, blah. The statute is constitutional. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
They never define threats. Threatening to get somebody fired is not the same as threatening to fuck them up or shoot them or whatever. It's
don't cross that thin blue line, Derica.
Well, if you're gonna get totally extreme about it, there's actually a Supreme Court case. I forget what the fucking guy's name was. I think it was something Elk versus. Oh God, I don't even fucking remember the name of the court case. Okay, but anyway, the guy essentially what it established was that if a cop is abusing your your personal freedom, your rights, whatever. Fucking, you have a right to retaliate against that.
Yeah, that was
Right.
out
You have a right to
Illinois.
resist that.
Yeah, that was out of Illinois, and it basically ruled that you have the right to shoot police officers.
Exactly.
Good luck not getting shot.
Well, no,
Right.
that's exactly what I mean, though.
Right.
Like, they don't give a fuck about that law, obviously, or that ruling.
They don't give a fuck about any law.
No, they
Well,
don't.
see, the whole thing is, I like that. Who was it? Was it Illinois or Indiana? I think one of them ruled that it was like you were legally allowed to shoot cops if they
Illinois,
if they raided your house and you were they didn't have a warrant or whatever.
No knock raid,
Yeah, exactly.
No knock raid,
And I don't see any fucking problem with that. Like you.
Oh, I love
me
no knock
either.
warrants. I think that's
just like a
great.
home invasion. Just like a home invasion, you're gonna fucking shoot that person too. Like, what the fuck does it make a difference if it's a cop? Like,
right.
if
And
you're
how
in
am
a
I
fucking
supposed to
costume
know
with
it's
a
a
badge,
cop?
like-
It's dark.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
how am I supposed to fucking know?
I think I posted this on the wall.
Well, once they shoot your dog and the flashbang goes off in your kid's
exactly.
nursery, then you know it's the cops, not just a regular old home invasion.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I think I posted this on the Wolf page a few hours ago, or maybe it was yesterday, or maybe I didn't even do it. But when I was living in Virginia Beach, I had a valid Virginia concealed carry permit to carry a concealed handgun. And I got pulled over for speeding one night, and when I gave my driver's license to the contact officer, he went to his car, and a few minutes later he came back with him and his partner. They both had their guns out, and they fucking pointed guns at me. And I was like, excuse you, what's the fucking deal? And like, were you not going to tell us that you have a CCW? I was like, first of all, it's not required in this state for me to disclose that information. Second of all, I don't have my fucking gun in the car. I don't have a gun on me. Just because I have a permit doesn't, But the thing that really pissed me off about that.
That's why I don't mess around with their licenses and permits. I don't fucking.
Oh, I did it because, and I mean, I have a valid Georgia weapons carry license too. But the difference is that in the state of Georgia, not only is that information not attached to your driver's license, but they can't ask you for one even if they see you carrying. Like, thankfully, in the freer state of Georgia,
that's good.
Those kind of issues are not something that I have to deal with. But in Virginia, when I was living there, these dudes fucking drew down on me, and I was like, dude, if you were anybody else, you'd be fucking dead. I would shoot you.
What's weird about
exactly.
Virginia is they treat you like a fucking criminal if you carry concealed, but it's an open carry state. You can open carry, and they can't do fucking shit about it.
Yeah, right.
I never understand that.
I think that's very regionalized in Virginia.
New York is concealed carry. I'm pretty sure you have to disclose to the police that you have, if you have it on your presence, you have to disclose that.
New York's not even worth fucking talking about at this point.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's like Maryland. They by technicality they have concealed. I think it's easier to get a carry permit in California than it is in Maryland.
Took me 6 months to get my denial letter.
Yeah.
It took you 6 months to get your denial letter.
Took me 6
Well, see, the cool thing is that
my county is over 1 million people. The sheriff signed 270 concealed weapon permits, and all but 4 of them were donators to the sheriff's.
Main reason I left California.
You don't say.
Yep. I fucking love California. Main reason I left is because I would be looking at, if I was in California, I'd be looking at like 300 and something years worth of felonies.
Absolutely.
because of all the shit that I own that's not legal.
Just for owning property that you haven't hurt anybody with.
Exactly. Just for owning pieces of metal and plastic.
Yeah.
That are shaped in a
amazing
configuration.
Yep. That's why you see no pictures of nothing that I may or may not own.
You drive 4 hours.
You don't own anything, as far as I know.
Well, everything that I had pictures up of like years ago, it all got lost in boating accidents.
That's right.
Why are gun owners such terrible boat drivers?
I guess our mind is elsewhere.
Shit happens, dude.
We're just thinking about our guns too much.
Just a hand of God.
That's the thing, though. I say, fuck them. I got my shit.
Yeah, you posted a picture of Wolf earlier of it. Yeah.
Exactly. I got my shit. Come get it. You wanted that bag? Come get it. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out the fucking hard way.
The cool thing is that.
And you'll probably kill me, but I mean, it's not going to come without cost.
We all die at some point.
Justin was a gunner's mate. He did some training with some pretty elite people. I would not want to come onto his property at all.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't want to either.
Without permission.
I'm not the baddest mother out there, but I do know my way around this fucking trigger housing group.
Well, you're an operator, dude.
Oh, that's nothing that crazy. But like I
see,
said,
where
I
I live, the sheriff, the head sheriff, he was like, we're not going to enforce like the SAFE Act and whatever that Cuomo passed after the Sandy Hook shooting, which is questionable in and of itself, and we won't go there. But
we don't have enough time for that shit.
No.
Yeah, right. So after they passed that, the head sheriff here was like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to enforce that law because it's unconstitutional or whatever." And he's like, just continue about your business.
Yeah, but I bet that motherfucker will arrest you for having a machine gun.
Yeah, or owning a plant.
Probably.
Or a plant.
No, they don't really fuck with people around here too much, which is surprising.
Love how they can arrest you for owning nature. That's so funny. Like,
because they can't patent it.
Well, they can't tax it.
Yeah,
they can't.
That too.
Well, they're doing it. They're doing it in.
I have no idea how they're doing it in Colorado. I don't know. Don't ask me.
And Oregon and Las Vegas, like Nevada.
I just read an article about Oregon, though. Speaking of that, it's fucking hilarious. They're saying that weed is down to like $2 and $3 a gram wholesale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In Oregon, because they're producing more than
such a surplus. They had like 1 million pound surplus.
Yeah,
but
that doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, they can't ship it to Nevada though. Nevada has Nevada needs it, but they can't ship it to Nevada. But Nevada has like $30 million in tax money in the first quarter alone.
Oh yeah!
Wow.
Colorado had such a boon in tax money coming in just because they legalized it recreationally that they were like kind of obligated to give that tax, like a portion of the tax money that was kind of surplus back to the taxpayers, and they were trying to figure out a way
to go to the schools or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But they were trying to figure out a way that they didn't have to give it back to the taxpayers, because they were like, oh well, we could use this for stuff that we for the greater good,
like roads.
Yeah,
and shit, right?
you know what I mean?
My roads.
My fucking
yeah,
roads.
exactly.
Fuck them. I don't want them to fix the roads.
Nowhere.
Like, I like as much as I love the idea of not being arrested for possessing a plant right now, I do not like the idea of taxed recreational marijuana.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Nah.
Because on 2 points. Number one, first, it's a government permission. It's not freedom. It's permission.
It's legalization, not decriminalization.
Yeah, it's
right.
And it's tax. So it's another way for the state to get your money away from you.
Right.
And then they use.
Funny you mentioned that because I'm not a fan of any kind of tax. So.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, right.
Not at all. And then they use that money to improve the roads and improve the schools and improve the buildings and social programs and all this other shit. And it makes the government look better.
Yeah.
I want the government to look as terrible as possible. Like, I want the government to literally be like the Somalian government. Like, that's what I want. I want the government to look as terrible as possible, to the point that people get fed up with the government and they seek a market demand for something else.
Well,
so
see, the whole thing
in 2020. That's what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, well,
I'm in California.
That Joe Biden isn't a better decision.
I'm in California. My vote doesn't matter anyway.
I'm
I'm
like this close.
If you
man.
think
like,
about it,
yeah, right.
Biden.
Well, if you think about it, the United States government is just it's warlordism, like repackaged. So it's like people don't see it as like something of like a ruling party or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's like they have that dichotomy of like left versus right. Like it's even fucking real when it's just two sides of the same coin.
And it literally there is zero fucking operational difference
between
the federal government and a fucking crime syndicate.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
There's no functional difference.
Well, there is a difference because they don't.
Right.
Well, they don't. They also have a public school system that they can indoctrinate the youth through, which crime syndicates don't.
Crime syndicates do like apprenticeships. They do apprenticeships and shit.
Dan, sure, crime syndicates have schools. They have the streets, my man.
Well, that's true. School of Hard Knocks.
You think you learn these ounces and grams? You don't learn them shit in fucking school. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, get with the metric system like the rest of the civilized world.
Well, that's what people always say to me, like when I talk about like anarchism. They're like, "Well, what we do? Like, people are horrible and whatever." I'm like, "Okay, so then we should fucking create a fucking vehicle that monopolizes power and force and fucking give that ability and access to people that are imperfect."
Yeah,
because
people
we're imperfect.
suck and they can't be
What
trusted, so we need government that's made up of people who suck and can't be trusted.
It's some fucked up circular logic.
It's a circle jerk without the payoff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a circle jerk, but you're getting fucked at the end.
Right. Well, and not in the good way, though.
Dry,
not in the
bite
good
the
way.
pillow.
Right.
It's like people are inherently evil and untrustworthy. So the best idea that I can come up with is that we should give some of the most evil and most untrustworthy people who have ever lived on Earth.
Yeah.
All
absolute fucking utter power over everybody else.
Yeah, but let's keep voting for change, folks. Let's keep voting.
We're gonna give the nukes to the most untrustworthy
the next
evil
step in evolution, my man.
Well, that's why I always argue that taxation is the only reason that taxation is in place is to get you to buy things or pay for things that you wouldn't otherwise pay for
don't
voluntarily.
Fucking want.
Exactly.
Yeah. Force you to take things you don't want.
Exactly.
But who would build the roads, though?
Hey, I'd gladly fucking fund roads or pay tolls to fucking maintain roads. So
yeah, I would too.
But
I got places to go. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you wouldn't want a fucking road between you and the store.
No, but instead we can pay taxes on it and pay tolls. It's fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah. They get you coming and going.
If we hadn't had government over the last 100 years, we wouldn't even fucking need roads. We'd have flying cars, man.
Oh, totally.
I know, right?
That run on water.
Yeah, they got cars that run on water, man.
Dude, they got these drones that you can fly in that's 3D printed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the future, man.
You don't even have to go shopping anymore. Amazon will drone your shit right to your fucking doorstep.
Not only that, but if you're really lazy, they'll come into your front door and place it in your fridge.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
One time only, though.
Yeah, hashtag nice try, NSA.
Did you know now Amazon, people didn't want to do that because they didn't want strangers in their house. Now Amazon is benevolently offering to install security cameras that they can monitor and you can monitor in your fucking house.
Oh, beautiful.
So you feel safe letting their employees in.
It's not bad enough that people have the Amazon
Alexa
Echo,
and shit like that.
Which is a freaking
so now they wiretap and now they have surveillance, visual surveillance.
Yeah.
Hey Google.
Jesus.
It's like hey CIA, give me a pancake recipe.
Right.
Well, so
wiretap.
I had this conversation with a statist one time. It was pretty productive. They I talk about how oh man, the government, they're listening right now on this fucking device that I have in my hand. They're listening to all of us. And you think the government's listening to everything you say and they read everything that you write on the fucking Facebook. Why do you still say the shit that you say and post the shit that you post? And I said, well, it's pretty simple, man. If you've ever gone fishing, you go out, you're in a boat, you take some fucking fishing poles, go buy some bait, and you go out there and you sit on the lake all day. How many times have you ever gone out on the lake and sat there all fucking day, 8 hours, and not caught a single fish? Happens all the time, right?
Yep.
How many times have you ever gone out on the lake and sat there and caught every fucking fish in the lake?
Never.
It never happens.
Never.
They only care about the big fish. Ross Ulbricht, free that motherfucker.
Yeah.
They only care about the big fish. Us little turds, they throw us back. We're catch and release.
Once
you get big enough to make
once you get too big, then they they do
they suicide your ass.
Well, yeah. Well, either that they'll smear you publicly first, then they'll attack your economic situation, and then they'll kill you if you don't stop after that.
What's the guy's name? Is Jeremy Hagenmiller? Jeremy Hangler, right? He got raked over the coals because some asshole was in his fucking yard on his property and he went and got a kitchen knife.
It was a Mori knife. He had it in his pocket. He was cleaning out his garage. And then his garage, by the way, is 100 feet deep on his property.
Yeah, dude, I've been to his house. There is no, like, if they were parked on the street, they legit had to, there was no, like, oh, I saw him in his garage. It's like, his garage is behind his fucking house, like, almost.
Across his yard.
He
Like,
lives
deep into his fucking property.
He lives in New York? Where does he
live? He's on Long Island, New York.
Long Island, right?
Yeah.
You do that shit down here in fucking Lilburn, Georgia, you get lead in your face.
You don't go on someone else's property when they tell you to fucking leave.
Fuck no.
No.
You get that fucking that 40 cal barrel in your face. Don't do that shit.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying though, is like he was big enough that they made a big deal out of it. And then they attacked him online about it because he said some shit. I remember he said some shit about a cop, I guess, or there was like
a firefighter. Yeah,
it was a memorial parade
funeral, and he called them fucking parasites.
Yeah, he did it because he was in traffic for like 3 hours, and he said some shit, and like 1 million people fucking commented on him, and they sent the fucking news to his house, and that's when he pulled the knife out because they wouldn't leave.
And you know what? You know what's even funnier than that? He's still dealing with the courts. He hasn't even gone to trial for that.
That's like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
But
it was
anarchists are violent.
It was a year ago. Right, exactly. It was a year ago. He's gone to court. I think the last time I talked to him, he's gone to court 14 times for it.
What happened to our right to a speedy trial? I mean,
the state keeps asking for extensions. And then they offer him a plea deal, and he's like, "Fuck you! I didn't do anything wrong." And then they keep on the plea deal, and then it's like, it's ridiculous. The whole charge, what they got is menacing. Like that's the charge.
Yeah, that's not going to stand.
Menacing.
Oh wow.
Menacing. Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
She was menacing him. Like, she was fucking accosting him on his own property.
Yep. Trespassing.
Yeah.
Right, and now he's selling his house. Right now he's selling his house, and he wants to move, but he can't fucking move because he's still dealing with the court shit.
Yeah.
I say he just fucking move anyways and let them. I mean, are they going to come after him for over a fucking menacing charge?
Probably.
The only two times
at this point.
in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
The only 2 times I've ever been in trouble with law, I had a reckless driving ticket in North Carolina as I was driving from Virginia Beach to Atlanta. I was going like 95 and a 55. Dude pulls me over. It was like 3 in the morning. No cars on the road. It was on fucking freeway. I forget which freeway it was. Like 85 south or some shit. But dude pulls me over. He grants me a ticket. I'm like, hey man, so is there any way I can just pay like whatever the fine is and not have to come back to court? Because I'm like 10 hours away from wherever the court's going to be. He's like, nah, it's a mandatory court appearance. You got to show up. I was like, all right, cool. See you then. Fucking left. Never just said, fuck it. I'm not going. 3 years later, my driver's license expires. I'm in California now. I'm not even in Virginia anymore. And I go to get a new driver's license in California. Of course, I have to pay money to the state to get a fucking a permission slip to then use the vehicle that I already own to drive on the roads that I already pay taxes for. But whatever. Right. So I go to get my driver's license, and they fucking won't give me one. They're like, oh, we can't give you a driver's license because you have some shit. You have a warrant in the state of North Carolina. I'm like, for fucking what? And they're like, failure to appear for a moving violation. I was like, fuck all that. Like, what do I got to do to get rid of that shit? Like, well, you have to go out to North Carolina and surrender to the fucking sheriff. I was like, yeah, that's not happening. So like, now what do I do? Well, I don't know what to do. You're gonna have to figure that out. So I went to Navy Legal again. You know, that's how I was in the Navy. I went to the JAG Corps. I was like, yo, make this shit go away. And they fucking did. They made it go away.
Yeah.
Second time, it legit, like, this shit just, I got an email from the legal officers, like, hey, I talked to the DA in Greensboro. They said, fucking, you know, thank you for your service and all that shit. Next time you're in the state of North Carolina, just be more careful. I was like, all right, cool. I'll be more careful next time. Second time I got in trouble with the law was down here in Georgia. I was here visiting my parents, and I was at a hotel, and some shit happened, and I happened to be there when it did, and the cops got called. And I'm not admitting guilt or anything like that, but, you know, they came and they gave me a little bit of a fucking good cop, bad cop, and then they let me go. And then a week and a half later, while I'm like in fucking Italy, getting ready to finish my travel leg out to Africa, where I was deployed for a year, I get a phone call from some fucking detective lieutenant in Gwinnett County. He's like, "Hey, just following up on a police report that I got from something that happened at a Marriott hotel a couple weeks ago. Can I get some amplifying information from you?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll help you out the best I can. Wink, wink. Fuck you." And so he basically tried to get me to confess to something, and I was like, "Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, like, a lot of it is really hazy. It was late at night. I'm under a lot of stress. I'm getting sent to a combat zone. Well, I'm like fucking, my dog died. My grandmother's got cancer. All this shit. I'm making up all this. And
my goldfish ran away.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Well, we have enough to go on." And he calls me a couple days later. He's like, "We have enough to go on, and I'm gonna go ahead and recommend charges to the state's district attorney for misdemeanor reckless conduct." I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, fucking, what does that mean?" He's like, "Well, when can you come and surrender?" And I was like, "Fucking never." Because for one, I don't live in Georgia. At the time, I was living in California. Yeah. Like, for one, I don't live there. For two, I don't have any reason to go back there other than to see my parents. But fuck, they can visit me in Alabama for all I give a shit. Birmingham is nice this time of year, last I checked. Plus, I'm going to Africa for a year. If I don't get fucking killed in a combat zone, then maybe, just maybe, after the next 3 years when I get out of the fucking Navy, I might consider coming back. So, long story short, I just said, fuck it, I didn't go. Yeah, I just said, fuck it, I didn't go. I didn't turn in. And I went back to California, got out of the Navy, left California because it's a fucking commie shithole. And I didn't have anywhere to go, so I came back here to Georgia where my folks live. And I got a job. I was a bouncer at a biker bar in Grayson, Georgia, a place called Rudy's. Fucking North Georgia Twins, who's an affiliate gang of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club. That was their hangout spot, and I was a bouncer there for a little while. And my manager came up to me, a guy named Schmitty. And Schmitty was like, "Hey, man, you need to go get a server's license, because even though you don't pour, you still handle booze. You like bring the bottles up from the fucking locker up to the bar, so you got to go get a license." I said, "Okay, cool." I go down and get a license, and I do the paperwork, and I do my fingerprints, and you know what this fucking woman said to me? "Huh, I can't give you a server's license because you have a warrant." And I was like, "Oh, shit. I fucking forgot all about that shit." And she said, "Oh, well, it's no worries. Just go down and turn yourself in." And this is a badge-wearing sworn peace officer telling me this. Go down and turn yourself in Gwinnett County. And I was like, "Aren't you a cop? Can't you, like, hey, how do you want to do this? In front, behind? Like, how do you want to do the whole thing?" And she's like, No, you don't do that here. You got to go down to the police headquarters in Lawrenceville." So I said, okay. So I drove my own vehicle. I left the probate court, drove my own vehicle down to the police headquarters. And I walked in, and there's a guy behind the desk with a badge and a gun and a uniform and all that shit. I said, "Hey, man, I'm here to turn myself in. I got a warrant." He's like, "Oh, you don't do that here. You got to go down to the jail." I was like, "Listen, man." I was like, "Listen, this is the second fucking time a police officer with a badge told me that I'm in the wrong place to get arrested. So let me make this very clear. If I go to this place you're telling me to go and they don't fucking arrest me, I'm going home. and y'all can figure that shit out later." And so I went to the jail. It was Gwinnett County. It's off Hurricane Shoals Road. I went down to the Gwinnett County jail. It was only about a half mile away, so it wasn't that big. It wasn't that far out of my way. But I went down there, and again, I walk in. There's a guy behind a desk with a badge and uniform and a gun. I walk up to him, I'm like, "Listen, man, I'm here to get fucking arrested, okay? If y'all don't make this shit happen, I'm going home. Like, I have no problems waiting until somebody figures this out." He's like, "What's your name?" And I gave him my name. He's like, "What's your social security number?" I gave him my social security number. He's like, "Okay, yeah, you're here to get arrested. Yeah, you have a warrant. This is the right place. You're in the right place." So I was like, "How the fuck do you want to do this? In front, behind? Like, how do you want it?" He's like, "Let's go behind the back. That's how we do it." So, long story short, I spent 12 hours in the clink. I call my old man. He bails me out. "Congratulations, you popped the cherry. You're a real man now." And I go to pick up my property because they take from you whatever you have on you that's not like essential clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So like my shoelaces, my belt, I didn't have anything else on me because I gave everything else to my old man. I actually had him drop me off. And so after he came to bail me out, the only thing I had left to pick up at property was my shoelaces and my belt. And as I went to go get my property, the bailiff or whoever it was that works the property booth says, okay, you're going to get a letter in the mail in the next 6 weeks or so that's going to give you the information about your court date. That'll give you enough time to lawyer up and fucking figure out how you want to approach the hearing. I was like, all right, cool. 3 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail. The district attorney of the county of Gwinnett, Georgia, has elected to not prosecute the case against you for reckless conduct.
At that point, you're like, you better fucking prosecute me after put me through all this fucking bullshit.
Well, no. So
right.
What I'm getting at before we shut it down for the night is, if you ever get in legal trouble, boys and girls, anybody listening onto this podcast, if you ever get in legal trouble, just fucking ignore it. The shit will fucking go away. Jeremy, if you're listening, Jeremy, fuck them. Ignore the shit. It'll go away. I'm never been convicted of a crime in my life. Had 2 warrants. Them fuckers went away just because I ignored the shit. True story, no phone.
They have bigger fish to fry.
They do.
Yeah.
I'm not big enough. You're not big enough.
And on that note, do not take Justin's legal advice.
I am not a lawyer. Nothing that I've said tonight was legal advice. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, this has been another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends. Thank you, Justin, for joining us. It was fantastic to have you on, and I'm glad you came on at the last moment. I'm glad you came on at the last moment.
Derica, Dan,
yeah.
it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you guys.
Awesome, man.
Peace.